Man, it's my favorite time of the year. Everybody, what's up? It's Mack and Black 71. We are super excited. It is the Saturday before Super Bowl Sunday. Super Bowl LV between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And man, what a show we have for you guys. We had this gentleman on a few weeks ago, and immediately we said it's got to happen again. If this doesn't happen again, especially before the Super Bowl, we're in big trouble. So, Christian Simpson, what's up, my man?
Hey, man, I'm back. I'm here. The first show was fun. I think this one's about to be a hell of a lot better.
Oh, man.
It's good to see you guys, man.
Yeah.
It's good to see you guys. Happy Super Bowl weekend. Happy Super Bowl weekend, big cuz.
Yeah, I was telling my boss, I'm like, this is like a religious holiday for me. You know, I'm like, we should either get the Monday after Super Bowl or like something the Friday before. Like, I'm gonna petition that with President Biden. So we'll keep that close to the vest. But Christian, appreciate you, my man, and of course, we got Oso too. So I don't wanna bury the lead, as they say in the industry. We got Nick on. We're just getting some audio stuff figured out here, but I wanted to start off with you.
Hey, do I sound better, dude?
Oh my God, so much better.
Much.
Thank you. All right, hell flipping right. Goddamn right, dude. It is Super Bowl Sunday. You see the flag, you see the hat, you see the shirt. There's no fake fandom over here, dude. It is time. It is time for Tom Brady to submit his legacy as GOAT status, my friend. GOAT status. Okay? I've waited. Dude, I took the whole first week to make fun of Packer fans. I haven't said too much this week, but I'm telling you right now, I'm stoked, excited. We're here. Let's do this, man, because I haven't been this excited in 18 years. We all know what happened around this time 18 years ago. So let's do this. It is time for the dude. Here's the funny part about all this. And I love how I just jump in and just go 1,000 miles an hour.
That's what we do. That's what we do.
You know what I'm saying? That's what we do. However, okay, just all you have to do is go and look at some of my posts and look at some of the saltiness. And I'm not just calling out Packer fans. I'm calling out every Buck hater, everyone that laughed at me, every jackass that had the audacity. Dude, I was told that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers don't deserve to be in the Super Bowl. You're right, because we beat the number 4, 2, and 1 team all on the road. All y'all can piss off, and the Kansas City Chiefs are nothing more than just shit on the bottom of the shoe of the Buccaneers when we come out guns blazing, starting at 5:17 tomorrow Central Standard Time. So get ready.
Let's go.
Patrick Mahomes has no idea what the Shaq train, the JPP train, the Tonga Terrorizer and Vita Vea, and the entire best front seven in all of football is about to give Mahomes fits in approximately a little more than 24 hours. Mark it. We're ready. The Bucs are ready. The team's ready. The city is already going psycho nuts. I'm telling you, we're not the 49ers, by the way. Do not compare our offense to the 49ers offense.
Oh, absolutely not.
No,
I think that's the worst thing that anybody could do, because when I look at this Tampa Bay offense, Kansas City has the power, okay? They have the firepower. They'll get up and down the field, left and right. We've seen it. And me being a former defensive player, it's almost like picking your poison. You limit Tyreek Hill, you got to worry about Travis Kelce. But here's the thing that really stands out to me about Tampa's offense. They have depth across the board, Mack and Black. Tampa has potentially 3 number 1 wide receivers on their team. Mike Evans, since he stepped foot in the league, has been the number 1 option. Antonio Brown's been the number 1 option back to his Pittsburgh days. Then put Chris Godwin in a place like Houston, New England, or maybe the LA Rams, maybe even the Detroit Lions. He's their number 1 option as well. So these are the best set of weapons that Tom has had probably since 2007. And since we're talking about logos and stuff, I wanted to get this. That is my logo on a hoodie. Y'all could get this if you want. Let me know if you want one. I'm challenging both of you two gentlemen to get one as well. The link to my merchandise shop is pinned at the top of my Facebook fan page and my Twitter page.
Had that double XL ready for me, Christian.
I got you.
Yeah, no, first and foremost, because obviously we're going to get real deep into the game.
Right.
But we didn't have a chance, Nick and I, to discuss with you, Christian, a little bit about the QB carousel that's happening right now in the NFL.
Right.
So first and foremost, want to talk about that Stafford trade with you because we were on air. Was it last week or the week before, Nick? I think it was last week. And it was like towards the end of the podcast. I looked at my phone and it said Matthew Stafford, open to trade. And then basically a day later, we see that the LA Rams had traded Jared Goff, a few first-round picks, and I think a third-round pick for Matthew Stafford straight up. I have a lot of thoughts on this trade, but first I want to get yours, Christians, and obviously Nick, because me and Nick had kind of discussed it a little bit. But what do you think about this trade for both teams, especially when it comes to the Rams?
Well, I think we talked about it before we previewed the NFC Championship game. When Sean McVay was asked about Jared Goff, he sounded extremely non-committal.
Yeah.
He's our guy for now. The for now said a lot to me. I'm like, yeah, he's not going to be there any longer. Then I think you had a feeling that the Lions were going to part ways with Matthew Stafford. Yeah. I know the fan base really likes him, but I don't think people truly understand how when a new head coach comes in, he wants his own guy. He doesn't want what the previous coach had. He wants to be able to establish his own guy, and that's what Dan Campbell wants to do with Matthew Stafford. Now, to me, Stafford has the best weapons I think he's had in a while since Megatron alone. Has Cooper Kupp, has Robert Woods. But Matthew Stafford also has the one thing that he never had when he was in Detroit, a consistent running game to lean on. Yeah. Cam Akers is the real deal. Nick knows about Cam a little bit, back to his Florida State days. So I don't think we'll see Stafford throw the ball 45 and 50 times a game now because they're going to establish balance, and he has a great defense that he's going to as well. So Stafford goes in to a great situation. But I will say this, though. I think the Rams gave up a little too much for him. That is way too much because, I would have given up maybe a couple of draft picks this year. Next year, the quarterback draft class is supposed to be even better. So there's a possibility Goff may not even be there past this year. He may be gone and on the move again. And another show that I was on the other day, The Prime, they even said they could see Jared Goff getting traded to the Indianapolis Colts this year. And to be honest with you, nothing at this point really surprises me. First blockbuster move of not necessarily the offseason, but the first trade we've seen in the NFL. It's funny, we're already getting all the NFL offseason talks and rumors going, and there's still one game left to be played.
Yeah. It's weird.
Yeah, I agree with you in the sense of I think you bring up a very good point, and the point I think is the best point you brought up is wanting your own guy. I think for the longest Sean McVay wanted to have his own guy per se, but they couldn't get a reason why to get rid of Goff. You know what I'm saying? Like if you wanted to do it 2 years ago, you can't because you just went to the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? And then it seemed like you wanted to do it last year, but then you couldn't because you guys made, it's like, okay, well, we'll give Goff the benefit of the doubt. And this year, I think it was kind of unfair because towards the end, Jared Goff got hurt. Yeah. So to trade him when the guy was basically really throwing the football with 3 fingers, I think it's insane. Mack and I talked about this last week, and, the comment that I had made was, okay, yeah, it's cool to trade for Matthew Stafford, but are you really going to give up, multiple first-round picks for a 30-plus-year-old quarterback that over the last couple of years couldn't stay healthy? And here comes the Los Angeles Rams, who could not wait to get rid of Jared Goff and gave up 2 first-round draft picks. So here's a team who, I guess for what it's worth, we make so much about picking in the first round, and the Rams haven't had a first-round draft pick and I don't know how long, and they won't have one now until almost 2023. But the crazy thing is that it was the right package, in my opinion, for the wrong guy. You know, I'm not saying that Matthew Stafford's garbage, but 2 first-round draft picks and Jared Goff, I think Detroit fleeced Los Angeles because the Rams were so desperate to get rid of Jared Goff that they were willing to give up anything. And I think Detroit, you know, and I said this in the world of sports with you, Christian, and I said it on my own Facebook page. I think that the Rams got fleeced. And the first year of the Lions having a new GM and a new head coach, and they're, in my opinion, I think they're off in the right direction.
And I'll say this.
I mean, look at it like this, dude. What do the Lions pick this year? I think it's like somewhere between 5 and 8. 7.
They picked 7th, yeah.
There's a great chance that Justin Fields could fall all the way down to number 7 if he doesn't go 2 to the Jets, which again puts the Lions in a great position because you can get Jared Goff now, you can build Justin Fields, and when he's ready to take the helm, you can get rid of Goff and his big contract and bring in your guy. And I think the Rams got desperate. I think the Lions took advantage. And as much as looking at Matthew Stafford, to your point, Christian, with the weapons that he has for that price, that's insane. I thought the Rams really overpaid, and I think the Lions, maybe not in the now, but in the long run, will come off as they fleeced the Los Angeles.
I'll say this. Number one, everything you said was spot on, but I'll also say this too. The Lions have prepped themselves for the future. They're in rebuild mode right now. I don't know if Jared Goff is necessarily the long-term solution. So you go and you draft a guy. Maybe it's Justin Fields. Maybe it's Zach Wilson from BYU. That could be another possibility. That's just the nature of this game. Head coaches coming in and wanting their own guy. And I keep saying this to Bears fans all the time. Mitchell Trubisky isn't Matt Nagy's guy. Matt Nagy never really had the chance to draft his own quarterback.
Right.
Let's see what the Bears do during the draft and during the offseason. But I'm with you. I'm with you, Nick, for sure. I was saying that I thought Matthew Stafford was going to be a member of the Indianapolis Colts. I just thought that was a perfect fit.
Yeah.
I just thought that was a perfect fit for him. You have Matthew Stafford. You have, in my opinion, the best offensive lineman in football and the best offensive line, and Quentin Nelson and that Colts offensive line. Consistent running game to lean on. And the Colts have nice weapons. Zach Pascal, Mo Alley Cox, Trey Burton, T.Y. Hilton when he's healthy.
Michael
and the
Pittman.
Colts have one of
Michael
in the
Pittman
Colts, right?
Jr.
Michael Pittman Jr., who I think is going to be great.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a number 2 receiver for a long time.
Yeah,
definitely.
One thing, and you look at the Colts defense as well. They were one of the best in the league.
Right, yeah, that's what I was about to mention too, because I think that's a huge thing with the Stafford deal is has Matthew Stafford ever had a dominant defense like this?
No, he
on
hasn't.
the other side, right?
If you look at a lot of those Lions teams, even with Matthew Stafford and Calvin Johnson, their offense was their defense.
Right.
Like their defense wasn't consistent enough to get off the field on third down, which is a crucial down in football.
Right. Yeah. To get back to the just the value. First of all, people forget, and this seems like a million years ago for some reason, but the St. Louis Rams drafted Jared Goff, right? So they were still in St. Louis and talking with we're talking Jeff Fisher days,
Jeff Fisher, right?
Yeah. So you make a great point about Sean McVay. Like that's not his guy. He came in and was like, okay, this is what's available to me, and I'm going to work with it. Also, another thing that I don't think people are taking into consideration as far as why the Rams gave up what they gave up. Because the Rams gave up Jared Goff's ugly deal. Like, they gave him that extension and clearly didn't believe in him after giving him the extension. And when you're paying a guy, I think the cap hit is something like $35 million for next year. I know that's kind of like right there where you want your QB salary to be, but we're talking that's what you want to pay top level QBs, not guys that, we still don't know who even Jared Goff is. The guy is a below average decision maker. he has good arm talent, but as far as being able to work within an NFL offense under pressure, it's been really tough for him. Because remember that Super Bowl year, he was completely spotless clean because they had an offensive line, Andrew Whitworth on the when he was still sort of in his dominant phase as a left tackle, and had a really strong offensive line. So I think both teams got what they needed. So the Rams can wash their mouths of the silly and awful taste of Jared Goff and get Matthew Stafford, who's, Clayton Kershaw's best buddy, and it's just kind of like it makes sense on a lot of marketing levels too, right? And then Detroit, you guys mentioned it, it's hard to give them so much credit, but this is This is a wonderful trade for them. They don't lose anything out of this, and if Jared Goff sucks, they can just move on.
Yeah, they definitely do. And here's the thing I'll also say about Jared Goff. He benefits strongly from a run game. When he doesn't have the running game going and teams force him to step back in that pocket and throw the ball, they're going to force him to throw the ball down the field X amount of times. And I remember it just like it happened last week. The Rams were playing the Dolphins. This is when the Dolphins kind of got hot and got on that run. They were one of the better defenses.
Oh, yeah, I remember that
in the
game.
National Football League this year. They bottled up Cam Akers, and they forced Jared Goff to throw the football at least 51 or 52 times. And you're not going to win football games with Jared taking over the game. He's a game manager at this point in his career. Maybe he could become a guy that can take the ball into his own hands, but he's not a guy you're going to win with if you're throwing the football X amount of times.
And the Dolphins defense beat them, right? They beat Jared Goff.
The Dolphins
and it was
defense
just the defense,
it wasn't
right?
even close.
So, yeah. And it's funny because me and Nick were texting yesterday because to get into the next sort of seat on the QB carousel, because you mentioned Indianapolis. Their name has been really, really heavily involved with Philadelphia and Carson Wentz. Frank Reich was there during the Super Bowl year, I believe, when Wentz had a tremendous regular season, but obviously got hurt towards the end of the season. Frank Reich is obviously the head coach in Indianapolis, but what I was reading yesterday had me shooketh because I was like, I texted Nick, if this is true, we're in big trouble because apparently there's a bidding war for Carson Wentz, which you'll never hear ever again after this day. There will never, ever be another bidding war out for that guy. But apparently the Bears were really, really high on that list, and apparently the value that was originally thought of was completely off. I think people were talking about third and fourth round picks at first, and apparently Philadelphia said they want a player and a pick and possibly, somebody who can, step in right away as a starter. So obviously I don't think this is the right move for a team like the Bears. I just don't see Carson Wentz being any better than what you had on the team the last couple of years. I mean, I think he's better than Mitch Trubisky, don't get me wrong, but I just don't think you're taking that far of a step up, and especially asking price. If it happens and it's a 4th round pick or 2 4th rounds or 2 3rd rounders, I will take that in a heartbeat. But you have to remember, again, you're paying him a lot of money. They extended him, so you're paying him like a number 1 QB. And then, you got holes on this team if you're the Bears that go very, very far. So to me, the Carson Wentz sweepstakes should hopefully end in Indianapolis, and that's what I was thinking when you guys were talking. Was man, I know Matt Stafford would look good, but I think Carson Wentz in a Colts uniform makes a lot of sense.
I'll tell you this: if Carson, what's up, Nick?
Adam Schefter actually just tweeted not too long ago.
Oh no!
He says the Eagles are expected to trade Carson Wentz in the coming days in what would be the latest blockbuster QB deal to rock the NFL. Sources tell Chris Mortensen and himself.
Yeah, that's what I was reading yesterday.
Questions now become where, when, and for what, but it could easily happen as early as this week. So Chris Mortensen and Adam Schefter right now are both on Twitter saying that it looks like that there's going to be a deal coming up here. And the way that everyone has been talking, it seems like, and as you just mentioned, Mack, in the bidding war, it seems like it's going to come down to the Colts and the Bears. So it might be those two teams. We'll see what happens. But, you're right. You texted me last night. I was like, dude, if this is true, I wonder what the asking price is.
Right.
And the Bears already just went through, the last 2 or 3 years giving up 2 firsts and 2 seconds for Khalil Mack.
Yep.
And now are you going to do it again for Carson Wentz? And if you're Carson Wentz, in my opinion, like, you know, and I'm not trying to throw any shade to the Bears, but I would actually kind of hope that it's Indianapolis. And the only reason why I'm saying that is I think Carson Wentz, in my opinion, is not as bad as a quarterback as he was this year, outside of the fact that, you know, what royally pisses me off is when people stat watch and then you give me your thoughts and opinions based on what you see in the box score, because you're going to see Carson Wentz threw a lot of interceptions. But let's not forget that Carson Wentz for the longest time had no Zach Ertz, had no Alshon Jeffrey, had no Deshaun Jackson, was throwing the ball to legit third, fourth, and fifth string wide receivers.
Offensive line was second or third string.
Offensive line were just a bunch of revolving doors, and Carson Wentz was basically thrown to the wolves and looked like crap. And then when they tried to throw in Jalen Hurts, it was basically, you know, and I'm with Carson Wentz, like, because Doug Peterson did what he tried to do to save his job, but at the same time, you alienated Carson Wentz, and everyone's like, oh, look, Carson Wentz so garbage. Oh, Carson Wentz leads league in interceptions. Carson Wentz this and that, everything else. Let's not act like this offense has not been, like, you know, bleeding to death all year with injuries. Yeah. So maybe he's not that bad of a quarterback. So if I'm looking at the Bears and I'm looking at the Indianapolis Colts, and I say, okay, well, what team has the better offensive package? Helen Keller can tell you right now it's the Indianapolis Colts because the Bears may not have Allen Robinson. So if Allen Robinson, if you don't franchise tag him, who's going to be your number one wide receiver? You know, you got Jimmy Graham that's past his prime. Cole Kmet is maybe a year away from being a superstar. The same offensive line woes that Philadelphia just had. And you really don't have – I mean, you have a running game, but I feel like Matt Nagy doesn't really stick to it. He's so old to throw the ball when you have David Montgomery that's putting in this work. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm saying, you know, if I'm Carson Wentz, I'm saying, you know, okay, I'm going to get out of Philly, but I'm hoping that it's Indianapolis because I feel the same results are going to happen if the Bears pick me up.
Yeah, I agree with you completely because he goes from Philly to Chicago, and it's the same episode just waiting to happen for everything you just listed, that inconsistent offensive line. And I kept telling people throughout the year with Carson Wentz, oh, he's bad, this and that, yada, yada, yada. Okay, but what has he had around him? You know, every time you saw Carson drop back with the ball in his hands, I'm counting. I'm not even getting to 3, Mack and Black, and he's running for his life out the pocket. And I'm just saying to myself, I'm like, wow, it's really that bad. He goes to Indianapolis. I think the Colts may be the 3rd best team in the AFC behind Kansas City and Buffalo. They would be in the mix. Has that consistent offensive line, has that playmaker at the running back in Nyheim Hines, a consistent running back who can carry the ball 20 to 25 times, and Jonathan Taylor. Y'all know my rule. You better have game if you have 2 first names. It's only right. Has a good defense that he could lean on and get the ball back to him. And I heard really the only offensive coordinator he trusts in this league is Frank Reich. And when he played under Frank Reich in 2017, what was Carson Wentz? I don't know. MVP candidate until he got hurt.
Yeah, you know, honestly, guys, my main issue with it is a contract. Like, that's really my main issue because you have to remember what type of position the Bears are in. Nick just talked about it. Allen Robinson is no guarantee to come back. I don't even think he wants to come back. To me, if you're Allen Robinson, you've wasted how many years of your career with Jacksonville and Chicago Bears quarterbacks. I would not be surprised to see him go to somewhere like New England, somewhere like, you know, even, you know, there's going to be a couple of teams that will have some cap space that could use Allen Robinson. What really worries me, though, is that you're going to be paying $30 million for Carson Wentz over the next couple of years. And the Bears would have to cut any combination of Akeem Hicks, Charles Leno. I think Jimmy Graham's probably already good as gone. I think, who else? I think probably, you know, Massey is gone on the offensive line. I think on the defense, you know, Trevathan's probably gone. Buster Screen's probably gone. So you've got like 5 or 6 holes to fill here. And then you're not so biggest hole, the quarterback position. Honestly, I don't know about you guys. I'm willing to take a shot on a prospect QB because I just think you get the same amount of upside from a low risk pick like that. And to me, I just feel like the Bears right now are not in a position like the Colts are, because the Colts are like a QB away in many ways. And
contending.
Yeah. And I think there's also a sense of like the Bears' window for winning is really coming down, and the window is just really shrinking. And I'm having a hard time really figuring out if I want to trade multiple first round picks, which is what it's looking like right now. And if we're in the business of giving up multiple first round picks for a QB, why are we not in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes? That's my real question.
But here, and to kind of point out what you just said, Matt, did you see what Houston wants for Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
There's a strong possibility Deshaun might be a Houston Texan next year, because Houston, in exchange for Deshaun Watson, they want draft picks for this year. They want 2 firsts, and they want 2 defensive stars for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. Good luck with that. That's all I'm gonna say to them.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I'm with you, Christian. I think that I think the worst thing that could have happened for Deshaun Watson was Matthew Stafford getting traded for what he did.
Yep.
Because
exactly.
because now all of a sudden here comes Bob McNair and the great Houston Texans brass saying, okay, if you want Deshaun Watson, that's fine. Here's the price. And if you're Deshaun Watson and you're sitting there, you're like, okay, I'm either going to sit out this season or I'm going to get traded, but I'm more or less maybe probably going to be sitting on his couch, because I just don't see Deshaun Watson coming back to play for Houston for as disgruntled as he is, unless his mind changes, But here's the thing I want to bring up before I get deep into the Deshaun Watson deal. I want to talk something about the Bears, because I just thought of this. I think the Bears' biggest mistake so far this year is keeping Matt Nagy, because the reason why I say that, if you had a new head coach, you have one of 2 decisions. You can either draft somebody, or you can trade somebody to bring in somebody, and it makes more sense. Yeah. The reason why this doesn't make sense for the Bears to go out and try and get a quarterback now is because if the Bears suck next year and you do fire Matt Nagy, now you got to go through this carousel all again, because now you're going to bring in a coach that's going to say, okay, Carson Wentz is really not my guy. I want to get my guy. So now you're stuck with Carson Wentz that's making $30 million. You're stuck with Nick Foles that's making double-digit millions. And you don't want either one, and both of them, if you just let them go, are going to be against the cap hit. So that means you're going to have to go and draft somebody, and you redo this whole cycle offensively, to where now you borderline disrupt the flow of not the flow, but the core of this defense, because this defense is not getting any younger. Akeem Hicks is getting older. No. For as great as Khalil Mack is, he's getting older. You know what I'm saying? So while this defense is in its prime, you don't want to keep having this same quarterback carousel nonsense and then just hope, a 2006 or 2008, whenever the Bears made the Super Bowl, happens again. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I think the Bears made a huge mistake by not firing Matt Nagy, because then you had a clear-cut direction of where you want to go quarterback-wise, to where 2, 3, 4 years down the road, you're not doing this again. You're kind of got that stability, because you're going to keep your coach for 2, 3, 4 years, depending on if anything stupid happens, So that's why I think the Bears kind of made a huge error by not getting rid of Matt Nagy when they had the opportunity to. Like, I understand they made the playoffs, but for the foreseeable future, like, if you really evaluate the season, are you really going to say, we played well enough to really make the playoffs? Or are you going to say we got some lucky bounces here and there, but then you look at that game against the Saints, who really weren't that great in that game, and one offensive blunder, and the Bears never recovered from that. Like, the coaching should have been there to be like, hey, okay, it's a mistake. Let's get back on the same page, and the Bears never recovered from that.
As you're saying all this, I was thinking about a potential package for Deshaun Watson. Where I could see him ending up? First, I kept saying San Francisco, but look at what Houston wants. They want 2 defensive stars, so that would probably mean Nick Bosa and potentially Fred Warner in the deal. You want 2 defensive stars? You throw those in there. One that would realistically make a lot of sense, it could be Denver. Hear me out here.
Yeah.
Hear me out. Denver, maybe you trade Von Miller, because I've heard some things in rumblings that Denver and Von Miller are talking about potentially parting ways. They don't know what they're going to get from Von now after suffering that ankle injury.
And he makes a lot of money.
Von Miller, you trade maybe Bradley Chubb.
Yeah.
Denver gives up some draft picks. You have Deshaun Watson, and Denver's kind of back in the swing of things as far as the competitive nature in the AFC. Because Denver, let's just be realistic here. They've had a quarterback carousel of their own since Peyton Manning. After Peyton Manning, they're thinking Brock Osweiler is going to come back. After 7 games, he takes a crap ton of money, and he signs with Houston. Trevor Siemian wasn't the long-term solution. They draft Paxton Lynch. He didn't even work out. I don't even think he played a game for Denver.
He did. Oh, he did.
He did, and he sucked.
Okay.
Tampa in one of those games. I know.
Right. Right. They go out. They get Case Keenum. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
You go get Joe Flacco. That doesn't work. Drew Lock, he has potential, but I just don't see it. I don't know if he's the long-term solution.
Yeah.
You get a guy like a Deshaun Watson, he catapults you back into the contender conversation.
Thank God for Denver fans that John Elway's not around making decisions anymore.
I know that's right.
Man,
I know that's right, because let's not forget this is the same dumbass and John Elway who could have got Cap while he was still in his prime and playing. And because he didn't want to pay him $3 extra million, he nixed the entire deal. And, you know, there's no telling what Cap would have done for that team. And there's no telling, you know, where he would have been in his career at this point if he was in Denver. But I thought John Elway flubbed on that. But, dude, I couldn't hit it on the head. My sister texted me yesterday and said that Deshaun Watson said he wanted Denver to be you know, he wanted to play in Denver. And my only question to her was, are you willing to trade Bradley Chubb for him? And she said certain sacrifices have to be made. And she's willing to part with Bradley Chubb, because I don't see Houston asking for Von Miller when the same Texan squad is looking to trade J.J. Watt.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's definitely
right.
Yeah, that's
Bradley Chubb makes sense, because Bradley Chubb obviously is, I wouldn't say a century, but he's definitely younger than Von Miller and or J.J. Watt. So that would make more sense. But here's the thing, though. My thing is if Houston really wants to get rid of Deshaun Watson, it's either going to have to be 2 first-rounders in a player, or it's going to have to be a first-rounder, a second-rounder in a player. There's no way in hell this team is getting 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and 2 defensive studs for Deshaun Watson. And then let me say something very controversial that a lot of people don't have coming, because I had this conversation yesterday when someone was trying to tell me that Deshaun Watson was a better quarterback than Josh Allen, and I could not disagree more. No offense to Deshaun Watson, but you want to know what Josh Allen has done in his second year that Deshaun Watson hasn't done? Correct me if I'm wrong. The Houston Texans have yet to sniff the AFC title game with Deshaun Watson as quarterback, correct?
They haven't.
Yeah, they made it to a wild card, I think.
And in his second year, and in Josh Allen's second year, with an, I don't want to say overrated defense, but with a defense that had no pass rush, more or less tried to hang in with Kansas City as much as they could, but at least they're in the AFC title game. And that's the thing that kills me about Deshaun Watson. You know, you can make every excuse in the world about Bill O'Brien with Deshaun Watson, but let's not forget this is the same guy who did play with J.J. Watt in that, you know, surprisingly good defense when J.J. Watt was more or less in his prime for a little bit. And then let's not sit here and act like he didn't have what many consider to be the best wide receiver in the game with DeAndre Hopkins and couldn't do anything then. So if I'm a team that needs to upgrade the quarterback, I'd say, look, yeah, I want Deshaun Watson, but you're just looking at his age and potential. I'm looking at what he has done so far. And what he has done so far is not worth 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and 2 studs. I'll give you a first and a second and maybe a stud. I'll give you 2 firsts and maybe a second, and I'm going to keep my defensive players, but I'm not giving you that overhaul. And if Houston does not kind of loosen up the leash a little bit on their package, I'm gonna let you know right now they will legit go 3-13 next year because Deshaun Watson's not playing. This team is not getting any better, and now you're just with a collection of guys that really don't make sense.
Yeah.
If that does happen, I could see Deshaun really pulling like a Le'Veon Bell, not playing this year. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he holds out. That's how disgruntled he is. And you see different guys around the league are coming to his defense. I know Nook. I know DeAndre said something about it. Randy Moss made a comment
Andre
about
Johnson,
it.
Yeah.
Quiet ass Andre Johnson, the dude that don't talk.
No, yeah.
He had to come out and say something. So
and also remember at the end of the year they caught JJ Watt and him walking off the field, and JJ said, "I'm sorry, we wasted one of your years, man." You know,
was JJ wrong?
No, he's right.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah.
He's absolutely right.
Yeah.
I'll keep saying this, and I'll say it until the day I don't analyze football anymore. Houston should have traded JJ Watt instead of DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I was thinking with Denver. First of all, like Bradley Chubb is a good player, but then you're gonna have to pay him because he's coming out like a year away from extension talks, right?
Right.
And then like you're not gonna because like you traded DeAndre Hopkins, and then the reason why you traded was because we didn't want to have to pay a QB money to a wide receiver. Well, if you get Von Miller, you're paying QB money to a defensive end.
Because Houston's gonna have to take on that contract.
Oh yeah.
So,
and then again, if you extend Bradley Chubb, you're gonna extend him
Right.
for a nice amount of money.
But this is the only way that Deshaun ends up in Denver. You're gonna probably have to part ways with Bradley Chubb because that's like the eye candy for the Houston Texans. Von Miller possibly, because Nick did bring up a good point, especially when you're trying to get rid of J.J. Watt. But you put Deshaun Watson in Denver with those weapons that they have, Jerry Jeudy, K.J. Hamler, Tim Patrick, who else?
Courtland Sutton too.
Courtland Sutton.
Yeah.
Denver automatically becomes the second best team in the AFC West.
Yeah.
And as from an analyst and fan standpoint, we get Mahomes and Watson twice a year in the division.
Not bad.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
No, Nick, go ahead.
Oh, well, because what I was gonna say is Denver seems to be the only team in the West. I mean, you can say what you want about Las Vegas, and I'll say this 100%. I think Derek Carr needs to get out of Vegas, not because I
come
think
to the Bears.
Sucks. I just think that they don't really appreciate Derek Carr in Chicago. I think
love it.
Would be a great fit. I think it would be a low risk, high reward because I think Derek Carr is a really good quarterback, but for some reason, Vegas Raider fans either are complete idiots, but they swear up and down that Derek Carr sucks. He's not that great. It's not that. You want me to go ahead and keep on the controversial train? I'll go ahead and say it. Maybe John Gruden is not that good of a head coach as we think he is.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and John
Gruden. Think about that. John Gruden did not implement the shotgun until Jeff Garcia had to convince him to do it in 2009 when they were together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All the plays that John, if you look at the Super Bowl year of 2002 or 2007, was Jeff Garcia my fault. But if you look at 2002, all of Brad Johnson's plays were all under center because John Gruden had no shotgun plays. And Jeff Garcia was like, dude, I see the field better in shotgun. Let's put some more shotgun plays.
And then Gruden's like, no, spider wide banana,
Exactly. And the sad part is, it's like, dude, the Raiders went from being 4-12 to 7-9 to 8-8. And let's not act like Derek Carr didn't take the Oakland Raiders at the time to the playoffs.
Yep.
So what's been the problem? Has it been Derek Carr? Or has it been your offense because your deep, or it's not been your head coach because for some reason he's so fixated on the offense that your defense can't guard its own shadow?
Yeah, and then on top of that,
so if the Vegas Raiders fans really want to get rid of Derek Carr, I mean, go ahead. But you got Mahomes that's in Kansas City. You have Justin Herbert that's established himself in LA, and if Denver can get themselves Deshaun Watson, again, for a price that I think both would be fair, I think Denver's set for a while. And I'm with you, Christian. I think with the weapons that they have, I think Denver becomes a middle-of-the-pack team to now where Vic Fangio can really focus on the defense and just let the offense do its thing, kind of a la Mike Tomlin almost.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And what you said about Derek Carr, I also want to add this into that conversation as well. John Gruden hasn't been a Derek Carr guy. This even goes back to when John was in the booth for Monday Night Football. He never had anything positive to say about Derek Carr, and it's not working with them now in Las Vegas. So, but Derek Carr isn't a bad quarterback. Again,
no, he's not.
Take it back a couple years ago. Derek Carr doesn't break his leg. He's the league MVP. You know, the Raiders had one of their better seasons in 2016 because Derek Carr was on a tear. He breaks his leg. The wheels end up coming off the car.
Yeah. So from what I'm hearing, because, you know, you guys know me, I'm like all over Twitter and Reddit with these rumors. So I was reading that the plan for Vegas is to hopefully package Carr to a team like the Bears for possibly 1 or 2 future first-round picks, and then flip that to Houston in order to bring in and a couple of extra assets in order to bring in Deshaun Watson. That, you know, go ahead and do that. Fine. You know, you're going to give up all those assets for, you know, a guy who's pretty much, I wouldn't say on the same level as Derek Carr, but it's not like he's that far ahead. It's not like he's light years ahead of Derek Carr, you know, progression wise. So the way I see it is, I think there's only 2 teams right now who have the assets currently in their hands to make this trade, and it's the Dolphins and the Jets. You know, they both have multiple first-round picks this year. They both have extreme cap space, including the Jets, who can basically take on his contract as a whole. Like, they don't need to move around any money, nothing like that. They can just take on that contract. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens, but I think right now the Bears are gonna be active, clearly, and that's something that they've made clear. That pretty much tells me Mitch Trubisky's good as gone. You know, obviously I've talked about it on the show before. Nick Foles' contract is pretty much paid for. When you traded for him from Jacksonville, all of his signing bonus got basically, or all of his salary got transferred to a salary bonus, or a signing bonus rather. So you don't gain anything by cutting him this year. So you're basically like, okay, he's going to be our backup. And that's the reason why there's so much buzz around Carson Wentz, because John DeFilippo, who's a part of the Bears staff, was also on the part of the Philly staff at that time, and then Nick Foles and all that. And, you know, obviously Nick Foles is really big, you know, as far as respect in the league. So I think they had them on that. But before we move forward, before we start talking more Super Bowl and more football, just want to add some plugs in, guys. Do us a huge favor and support our YouTube. We're trying to grow our YouTube channel here. So all you have to do is search Mack and Black Podcast on YouTube. You'll find PodRiver, which is our YouTube channel. We stream live weekly on the Facebook, but we also have live streams on YouTube. You can watch the full episodes on YouTube. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify. We're on all of that. And just get all the links at mackandblack.com, including, you know, RSS feed and pretty much everything that you want about the show at mackandblack.com. Continue to like and share and tell all your friends about it, please. And if you're in the chat right now, because, you know, we're going to be talking Super Bowl, obviously, you know, who's your pick for the Super Bowl? Any questions? You know, we got Christian on. Christian is a, you know, tried and true NFL analyst, so we want to take advantage of his knowledge here. And if you guys have any questions or, again, predictions, please throw them in the chat. We will follow along here. But yeah, I just want to take that time because I know we're going to get pretty deep into the Super Bowl here coming up. And again, guys, you know, check out our YouTube. Continue to tell friends and subscribe. Really appreciate it. We want to grow this thing here. But yeah.
Hey, our good buddy. I don't mean to interrupt. Our good buddy Sean Turner's in the.
Okay.
Chat.
What's up, Sean?
Sean Turner, what up?
Yeah, Sean's saying, he said, listen, Bears need Carr, but I hope they don't Cutler all over themselves and get Wentz. I agree with that.
Yeah.
And Sean, who's a diehard Chiefs fan, is saying he's going with Tampa. I don't believe that for 5 seconds. I don't believe
he's
that
just
for
trolling
a
us
second.
now, huh?
Not for 5 seconds. Hey, dude. So before we do go on to football, can I put myself on blast for like 3 minutes? Because I've had 2 blonde moments now in 2 days. So yesterday, I put myself on blast, but I'll do it again. I did not know that 28 years ago, that Lenny Kravitz and Lisa Bonet broke up. I thought they were still dating and married, and had no idea that Lisa Bonet was married to Jason Momoa. Dude, it was the funniest thing ever because I was watching TV with Georgette, and I was like, man, I was like, Lenny Kravitz must still be dating Lisa Bonet because it was, I don't know, it was like a Lenny Kravitz commercial. She's like, what are you talking about? They've been broken up. I was like, no, they haven't. They're still dating. Dude, I didn't know they broke up in 93.
Yeah.
28 years ago, I had no idea. So for 28 years, I've been believing. And the reason why I bring this up is because I was promoting our YouTube channel, and I thought we were still on our Mack and Black one, and I didn't realize until I was today years old that I knew Steve moved it over to PodRiver.
Yeah.
So now I got to change everything. Dude, I don't know where my mind goes from time to time, but, man, it's in one ear, out the other, man. Do not get old.
I was about to say, I think I'm getting old too, man, because I have about 3 of those moments every week, and unfortunately, like, most of them are in front of my work, in front of my work colleagues, so it's like, we sent that email, 3 days ago. Everybody saw it. And I'm like, oh, sorry, I missed it. Never mind. Yeah, definitely getting old.
Or it's like one of those where you read it and you're like, man, it doesn't pertain to me.
Yeah.
And then like 3 days later, all right, did everybody read the email?
Yeah.
Dang.
I was telling my boss, I have a system where if I read the email but I need to read it later, I just leave it unread and then I'll go back later and read it, and that never works out. So we'll try and work out a good system. But I'm glad we have Christian on, because again, obviously, like, the big game tomorrow, and there's just so much, there's a lot at stake here. First of all, not just oh my God, it's a Super Bowl. Right, it's a Super Bowl. We get it. But I'm just saying, for both teams, like, obviously Kansas City here, the opportunity to do what they want to do is ginormous, and specifically for Patrick Mahomes. I think everybody has been asking me this week. I went and got my hair cut yesterday, and my barber Rico was like, who you got? And I'm just, all I can keep thinking is, man, it's really hard to pick against Patrick Mahomes in these situations, because, Nick, if you remember, at around this time last year, we were talking about Chiefs and 49ers, and all I could think of was, man, it's been 4 games in a row now where Kansas City just keeps falling behind and keeps coming back, and I don't think that's sustainable, and there's no way that a team can continue to fall behind in the second and third quarter and continue to come back. And I put my shoe in my mouth following that, because we all saw what happened during the Super Bowl. It was a comeback, and not only a comeback of epic proportions, because I remember, I don't know if you remember this, Nick, but I was texting you and Steve last year during the third quarter, like, we might have to get Jimmy Garoppolo on the show. He's a rolling medals guy. He's about to win a Super Bowl. I'm like, he's about to win a Super Bowl. Let me look up who we could contact to get Jimmy G in rolling medals and maybe get him at reps, and then, Patrick Mahomes happened not too far after that. So big game here. And again, I haven't even talked about Tampa Bay and what's at stake for them, because the possibility to get Tom Brady and Nick, you talked about it when he joined the team. You immediately talked about the standard being set and the bar being set at Super Bowl, right? And that anything less is not going to be like a devastating thing, but it's going to be a failure if you don't at least make it to the dance. And here you guys are right now.
Yeah, I look at.
Go ahead, bro.
Nah, man, I look at Tampa Bay, and you got to give Tom all the credit in the world, because he has always had a thing about displaying laser focus. But this year, I think you saw more of his mental toughness, because first couple of games, that was his preseason, really didn't get into a rhythm, I want to say, until maybe week 7, maybe week 8. And it seems like after that loss to Kansas City in the regular season, Tom's throwing the ball with a little bit more zip. He's throwing the ball with a little bit more authority. He's on the same page with his wide receivers. This is a guy who was playing in the AFC for 2 decades, same head coach. They would tweak up the playbook a little bit, but now it's a completely new offense. And everybody wants to come in and everybody wants to diminish Tom Brady's arm strength. No, that dude can still spin the football down the field at 43 years old. I don't care what anyone says. If you think his arm strength is bad, you're clearly not watching what I've been watching, and maybe Nick can back me up on that.
Yeah, and let me say this because Mac brings up a great point. I wouldn't even so much say Buck. Okay, this is what I'm gonna say. A lot. What differs me from a lot of Bucks fans is I say who look at the other teams I root for. And obviously, everybody, including Helen Keller, and I don't know why I keep using her as a reference, but I will to the day I die.
She's a legend.
Everyone knows that I'm a diehard Yankees fan. And as a Yankees fan, we set the bar way too high, okay? Because we know what it's like to win multiple World Series championships. We know what it's like for our team to put a product out there. So when Tampa Bay brings in Tom Brady, and then you make a move to bring in Rob Gronkowski, and then there's all this hoopla about Antonio Brown. Most Bucks fans were like, man, I just want to make the playoffs. But as a Yankee fan standpoint, I'm saying, no, I need us to go to the Super Bowl.
Right.
Because you're not giving up on a 25, 26-year-old Jameis Winston to bring in a 43-year-old Tom Brady if you weren't trying to make it to the Super Bowl. So while most Bucs fans were in a civil war between Tom Brady and Jameis Winston, I was one of the few, and I'd say this without tooting my own horn, that was ready to talk about us going to the Super Bowl. And you're right. That first game against New Orleans, we started off strong, but we fell off. Then we win weeks 2, 3, and 4. And then we lose the Thursday night game to the Bears. And I thought that game to the Bears really shaped the leadership of Tom Brady, because everyone took away from that game that Tom Brady forgot it was 4th down. People took away from that game that he didn't shake hands with Nick Foles. And the biggest thing was that Tom Brady was yelling at Ryan Jensen and his offensive line in that play where they get the 1st down, but then it's called back because of the personal foul. And the next thing you know, it's 1st and 40.
Yep.
The discipline got better. The team got better. But then once Antonio Brown came in, they were working so hard. And when I say they, I mean as in Tom Brady and Antonio Brown was working so hard to get on the same page that I felt like it alienated the offense. And that's why they got smoked in that game 38-3 by the Saints. They were trying too hard. Where the Bucs offense really took a turn, look at every score the Bucs had from the second half of that first Atlanta game until now. The Bucs have scored 30 points in every game from the second half. Not even the first half. I'm not talking the whole game. I'm talking from the second half of that Atlanta game until now. The Bucs have scored 30 points, and I don't think of any of those 30 points, any of those are defensive touchdowns. That has all been the offense. They've gotten takeaways, but they've never taken any of those to the house. And that's why I think Tampa Bay is a little bit more dangerous than people are giving credit, because Tom Brady and Antonio Brown were finally getting onto the same page. But then when Antonio Brown got hurt, you had a guy in Scotty Miller that said, hey, man, don't forget that I love when you throw me the football, and had a touchdown against the Packers and had that big catch against the New Orleans Saints and all kinds of stuff. So Tampa Bay, we talk about the slow starts because they had the slow start against Atlanta. But from that point on, the Bucs have taken the ball first, and I think have scored a touchdown first in at least 5 of these last 6 games that they've scored 30 points. So I think Tom Brady and Tampa right now, they've gotten the taste of winning. They've gotten the taste of the offense playing great. They've gotten the taste of being in the Super Bowl. And when you have a leader like Tom Brady that has really shaping up and fixed the culture of Tampa with all the weapons that they have, you're seeing why they're in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you anymore, but I want to give the defense a little bit of credit, Nick, because this defense has really turned the page. I know they looked a little shaky against the Washington football team, the wild card round, but you insert Devin White, he comes in, and the whole dynamic just completely changes. That's the best game Todd Bowles has called. Really, that was the best all-around game, I think, in New Orleans, because they ran the football. Tom kind of managed things. They let Tom be Tom Brady, dink and dump, short passes, not really pushing the ball up and down the field, but the defense single-handedly took that game over for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the New Orleans Saints because they rushed four, they kept the spy in the middle, and those weapons across the board in the secondary, they were able to make plays on the football. That front four was able to get a pass rush to the point that the secondary was able to make plays naturally upon the football. Then you look at it in Green Bay the following week. Tom came out blazing hot.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep saying it. That pass to Scotty Miller to end the second quarter, going in a half, that's the best pass he's made all year. And I keep telling people, Scotty Miller, he's just as important to this offense as a Chris Godwin or, as a Cameron Brate, because he's that guy that can go over the middle in traffic and make that catch over the middle of the field. But back to Tampa's defense. They handled their business again. Tom didn't look great in that second half. And what does the defense do? Shut down Aaron Rodgers, sacked him 5 times. They were a little bit more physical with Devontae Adams. But when Green Bay was in the red zone, they doubled him. They took him away. They played a single high safety up top with man coverage underneath across the board. And, this Tampa defense is playing with a lot of confidence. But here's the thing that scares me. The two things that scare me about the Buccaneers defense. One, what does Todd Bowles like to do? He loves to blitz. You live by the blitz, you die by the blitz. And when they played Kansas City the last time, Mahomes had almost 200 yards against the blitz. So I really want to know what type of game plan he's going to come in with. And then two, this secondary benefits from the front seven getting pressure on the quarterback. So if they don't get home, that secondary isn't able to make plays on the football. So those are the two things that concern me. But I really like the way this Tampa team is playing because they're playing with confidence. They're smiling. They're dancing. And look, Tom Brady is a thug. He wants to kill you with a smile on his face.
Yeah, what they say there was somebody crying in the locker room, and Tom Brady showed up and said, "Tom's not dumb, motherfucker. Like, what are you crying about?"
And Levante David wouldn't say who.
Yeah,
he wanted to, but he wouldn't say who.
I was gonna say it was probably him.
Well, you know what though, Mac? I don't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
But you know what? You may be right, bro.
Because he's been there the longest and hasn't won shit, right? So you would expect him,
I mean, think about it. Mike Evans, and he was mic'd up and saying it, he was ready to go on the locker room and celebrate.
The trophy ceremony.
And he was like, yo, Mike, you got to come back as a ceremony. He's like, ceremony?
I'm new to this.
He goes,
Dude, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, okay. And I hate to keep bringing this up, and I know I beat a dead horse with this, but, I always talk about MVP. But you're kind of seeing, I know the postseason doesn't really dictate the MVP, but you're seeing some of the reasons why I keep talking about why I feel Tom Brady is more MVP than people give him credit. Because what do we always talk about when it comes to Bruce Arians' offense? They always struggle in the first year, right? Carson Palmer struggled. We saw Jameis struggle. They always struggle in that first year. Yeah. Tom Brady came out. Not only did he throw 40 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, the Buccaneers in the regular season were 4 wins better than they were last year with almost the same exact team. Yeah, you have a few rookies in there, and you have Antonio Brown in there and all the other weapons and whatnot, but it's still a 4-win better team than what they were last year. If you want to get real technical with it, they've doubled their wins. So almost they doubled their wins. They're 14-5 technically. That's double the wins where they were last year.
Yeah.
So you have to give Tom Brady some type of credit. But to Christian's point, the one guy that we haven't talked about that needs to be talked about, and one of the reasons why you didn't see much blitzing in that game against Green Bay, number 50, Vita Vea. Vita Vea took up 2 guys and realized that their bookends couldn't defend these guys one-on-one. So according to me, like when it came to Green Bay, it was pick your poison. Either we double Sue and we let Vea and our right tackle go one-on-one. We go one-on-one with Vea and Shaq Barrett with our guard and tackle, or we double Vita and we're going to go with our backup left tackle against JPP and Sue. And you saw that Green Bay was confused the entire game because Shaq Barrett, I think everyone's going to say JPP, and rightfully so, but Shaq Barrett needs more credit for that last drive. Why? because in those last two plays before the field goal, Shaq Barrett is in the backfield making Aaron Rodgers uncomfortable to make him step up and make plays and throws that a comfortable Aaron Rodgers wouldn't have made. If Shaq Barrett does not get pressure in the play previous on second down, Aaron Rodgers runs for that play on third down for a touchdown. But he saw Devin White in his front ear, and he knew Shaq Barrett was in his back, and it got him rattled. And I think that's going to be a huge problem with Kansas City when you got Steven Wisniewski, who's playing his first start at guard because you're missing Eric Fisher, and then whoever was starting guard is hurt, so Wisniewski got to go from the tackle to the guard. You have two tackles that are making their first start, and then you have two guys in the middle and your center and your left guard. I can't think of their names off the top of my head. And you can take Pro Football Focus for whatever it's worth. They have under 70 grades by Pro Football Focus, which isn't that great. No. And you're going to tell me that your inside guys have to go against Sue and Nunez Roches and Vita Vea and McClendon, and these guys are all fresh?
Yeah, that's scary.
And Sean just brought up a good point. If Patrick Mahomes' toe is not okay, Patrick Mahomes is going to be Cleveland-esque. And the way he got hit in that game against Cleveland when they couldn't protect him in that game, because he's going to get hit a lot. So that front seven, you're right, for Tampa Bay is going to be huge, because if Mahomes has time, he's going to probably pick that secondary part again.
Yeah.
But if they're on his ass like I think they're going to be, Patrick Mahomes is in for a long game.
Yeah, he could be in for a long game, but I'm looking at when I look at the Kansas City Chiefs, and really more so Tampa, because when you play Kansas City, the one guy that I always say I'm circling in on is who? Tyreek Hill. He's the most dynamic offensive player in the National Football League that's not a quarterback. The breakaway speed, and there were times in that first game when Tampa Bay, they were doubling him, and Mahomes was just putting the ball up in the air to the point where only Tyreek could go up and get it. And you know who Tyreek Hill kind of reminds me of? He reminds me of a faster and more athletic Steve Smith Sr. Smaller guy, but can go up and go to football. Doesn't care who the coverage is against. Doesn't care what they're throwing at him. He's going to get that ball.
And very hard to press. Very hard to press on press.
Exactly. Yeah. So here's my thing. I'm saying if Tampa's going to double him, Kansas City's going to counterattack that. So they're going to give him the ball. And
safeties that can not only hit go and cover the ball, but they can hit really hard Tampa Bay's defense. So I want to give a little bit of credit to Jason Light, because as far as roster building is concerned, as a Bears fan, when you look at like our roster and then you look at Tampa Bay's roster and then you think these two teams had the same amount of money to spend, it's almost embarrassing that, Tampa Bay can come out on top with this type of roster. And again, they're not, it's not like they're spending more than everybody else is right now.
Yeah. I know the other day, I did a little tail of the tape. Like who has the edge at what position. And I know I showed Tampa a lot of love because I said I thought Tampa had the better offensive line, because Kansas City's coming into this game with a depleted offensive line. Eric Fisher's their best offensive lineman. He's the anchor in the quarterback.
I don't know. Mitchell Schwartz, man, I think he's been rated the top right tackle in football for the last 3 years.
He's going to have to really take on that leadership responsibility. But when I look at the defenses for both teams, Tampa has the edge at defensive line. Tampa has the edge at linebacker. Where I broke the tie was in the secondary. Look, I love Antoine Winfield. Yeah. Carlton Davis is good when he wants to be.
Sure, yeah.
But Kansas City has what Tampa doesn't have, and he goes by the name of Tyrann Mathieu. Sure, I can rave about this guy all day long, Matt and Black, and I think I was telling you this in text, Matt. Tyrann Mathieu was the closest thing I've seen to Troy Polamalu. I'm talking about a jack of all trades type of guy who can play back, he can cover and play center field, he can line up against those slot receivers, pick up a running back in the flat, do his best to cover a tight end. This is a guy I feel that Tampa Bay is going to have to circle in on. Nick, how I always used to say on the sports stand, there are certain defensive players that you just must know where they are at all time. Tyrann Mathieu, I feel, is one of those guys because if you don't circle in on him and know where he is, he will wreck your offensive game plan.
Yeah, that's why I was scared about the whole. I mean, listen, I get it. You know, Tom Brady is in a new offense. It's not a conservative offense by any stretch of the imagination, but Tom didn't have his best second half, especially against the Packers. Let's be honest, he let the Packers back in that game in many ways with his turnovers. And I think that's one thing that really, really scares me with Tampa Bay this week is the Packers don't have a ball hawk guy like Kansas City does in the Honey Badger, because what Matthew can do is he could play in the box, but he can also play back in coverage. He could play man with somebody. He could be the guy that guards Gronk in the red zone. So this is a really versatile guy, and to me, they also Kansas City, what they have that is really hard to put a finger on because it's hard to notice. They've got a lot of big guys up front, including Chris Jones. And, when you look at what they can do from the edges with Frank Clark and some of the other guys that they have for the pass rush, they've got a team that can rush the passer. The real big thing is that if Tom Brady's going to win this game, it's going to be being a not saying game manager. I think that's probably a little bit too I think that's a little bit too harsh because you're going to need him to make plays, don't get me wrong, but I think what you're going to need to get out of Tom Brady tomorrow is no turnovers. I just think that's super important.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But you know what, guys? I'll say this, and I've never said this about any Super Bowl. Some of the best matchups in this game aren't even taking place on the football field.
Sure.
Let's break this down. Eric Bieniemy versus Todd Bowles. Man, Eric is one of the best offensive minds in football. He got one over on Todd the last time because they kept targeting Tyreek Hill until they could stop him.
Yep.
And they did a better job of containing him. But I'll tell you this, if Todd Bowles pulls what he did Thanksgiving weekend tomorrow on the biggest stage, he needs to put his resignation in at the half. I'm not saying it's gonna happen.
And that's exactly where I'm finna challenge you because I was trying to look this up. In week 12, Tyreek Hill had 269 yards worth of receiving yards
on 13 catches.
200 and was it like
he had
200 in the first quarter.
Yeah,
200 in the first quarter. Yeah.
How much?
203 in the first quarter.
Okay. So that means in 3 quarters, he had X amount of catches for only 60-some yards. Why? That's one of the main reasons why Tampa Bay was even to get back into that game.
Yeah.
Because they tried to do a one-on-one between Carlton Davis and Tyreek Hill, and Carlton Davis was getting burnt. And Todd Bowles was able to make the proper adjustments so that Tyreek Hill wasn't killing him. And they were able to try and get back into the game, but they ended up losing. That's that. And what was the one key factor that Tampa Bay didn't have in that game that's going to be here on Sunday?
Vita
Vea. And the fact that Vita can disrupt the backfield and not let what's his name get comfortable in that pocket, Patrick Mahomes, is a huge benefit. So I think this is where there's a lot of underrating because there's going to be a lot of hype behind Patrick Mahomes. There's going to be a lot of hype behind Tyreek Hill. There's going to be a lot of hype behind what happened week 12, and especially in that first quarter. But where the hype is missed is that Tampa Bay doubled Tyreek Hill. And let me tell you this about Tampa's defense. What is the one thing that Tampa's defense has done great, really all playoffs, that a lot of people aren't talking about?
They're forcing turnovers. They're punching the ball.
Not even so much that, bro. It's Tampa Bay is going to let the others beat you and not the stars.
Exactly.
Michael Thomas, the best wide receiver in New Orleans, had no catches.
Yeah.
Okay. I probably caught more beers tossed at me that day than Michael Thomas did catches that day. Okay. That's how they made the others beat him. Look at the game against Green Bay.
Yeah.
Yes, Devontae Adams did end up catching a touchdown, but if you actually watch the game, Tampa Bay stopped Devontae Adams when it was needed. The only other person in that game that made plays was the one play by Marquez Valdez-Scantling that was like a 70-yard touchdown when he beat Carlton Davis, and we let that slide because Carlton played great the rest of the game. But St. Brown didn't have that great of a game. Outside of that catch, Marquez Valdez-Scantling was really an afterthought.
They shut him down.
Bono wasn't on the same page, and they were dropping passes. So, and that's what I think, that's where Tampa Bay has really succeeded so far in the playoffs. Your stars aren't going to beat us. We're going to make you make the others beat us. And that's
and you know what?
in Washington, because Terry McLaurin, if I remember, I think he played that game, really didn't have that great of a game either.
No.
So Tampa Bay, I think it has done a great job making your second and third wide receivers get involved, and we're not going to let our best guys beat you. And I think that's going to happen in this Kansas City game. If you stop Tyreek Hill, Ken Hartman, Ken Watkins, like Ken Kelsey, because, Travis Kelsey is arguably one of the best, if not the best tight end in football. But Levante David knows that he's one of the better defending linebackers in football, and Devin White knows he has the speed to keep up with Travis Kelsey and make sure that them catches aren't easy, and that's going to be huge because Devin White is our best blitzing linebacker. But if our front five and JPP and Sue and Vea and Shaq Barrett and even Nunez Roches, if they could get pressure on Mahomes without blitzing, it's going to cause a world of hurt for Kansas City, because the one thing about Tampa's defense is the minute they get you rattled and they smell blood, it's a wrap. They did it to Matt Ryan twice. They did it to Aaron Rodgers last week. They did it to
Drew Brees.
And think about it like this. They did it to Tyler Heineke too, because when Heineke went down and had that shoulder injury, he was a shell of himself. He wasn't running as much as he was. The passes weren't as crisp. He was hurt. But they got into his head after a couple of them hits, and he wasn't making the same passes. So Tampa, especially getting Vita Vea back, has really done a great job of getting pressure to the quarterback to where they don't have to blitz 75% of their plays. Because you're right, if they do that if they try to do that against Kansas City, we're going to get torn apart, because they did it once before, and Justin Herbert almost killed us doing the same thing as well.
And I think my thing is, people really underestimate the importance of an interior defensive lineman. I mean, look at arguably the best defensive player in the National Football League, Aaron Donald. Look at all the havoc he's able to create from the interior of the defensive line. And the thing about Vita Vea is he's not a pass rusher, Mack and Black. He is a guy that pushes the pocket. So he can make his impact just by pushing that pocket and saying, hey, you know what, look, I may not be getting to you, but just know I'm going to be in your grill. I'm going to make you think twice about where you go and who you get that ball to. You move left, I'm going to force you right. You want to move right? I'm forcing you to your least dominant side.
Yeah, another thing about Vita Vea is he's not a typical nose tackle. Like, he's not Danny Shelton, right? Or Vince Wilfork. Like, this guy played running back in high school. Like, he can run.
That's the thing. These Tampa pass rushers have some of the best first steps that I've seen in football. Did you guys see that sack?
Shaq Barrett.
Yeah,
just
Shaq,
took the words right out of my mouth. Did you see that sack? That first step was so silly. Even I was flinching. I'm like, whoa.
yeah, and that's another thing about Kansas City that I wanted to bring up, because you talked about it, Christian. When I hear Patrick Mahomes' toe is hurt, their running backs are both on the injury report, both Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Le'Veon Bell, missing both of your starting tackles. Mitchell Schwartz is one of the best right tackles in the league when it comes to running the ball. Eric Fisher has been tremendous on the blind side for Patrick Mahomes. Eric Bieniemy, I think, is going to have a game plan that's going to get the ball out within 3 seconds. I
couldn't agree with you anymore. I think. See, here's what I'm also expecting. I know Tampa has been great against stopping the run, but I don't expect Tampa to have that many guys in the box. They're going to be all in, I feel, on trying to stop Patrick Mahomes. So,
and I think they believe. I think, Christian, they believe that they can stop the running game with just their front 4 plus the 2 linebackers because, if you think about it, Devin White's what probably considered the fastest linebacker, especially middle linebacker in the league. And then Levante David is like one of the best block shedders in the league. So you got a guy who can shed blocks from the interior. You got a guy who can basically go sideline to sideline in Devin White. I think that spells trouble for Kansas City, but I think the real test for Kansas City is going to be defensively. Like I don't think Kansas City's offense is going to be, let's say, losing them this game, right? I think at the end of the day, if you're Tampa Bay, you kind of have the opposite, you have the same mindset. You're like, our offense is going to be good. I think we can handle this. Can our defense step up and make the plays that it needs to? I think that's what it's going to come down to be quite honest. I think, turnovers and big negative plays, we're talking sacks here, we're talking, penalties, we're talking, unforced errors. Remember, Nick, you and I talked about this after the Bears-Bucs game. The unforced errors of the Buccaneers was so out of pocket, and they eventually got that figured out and weren't shooting themselves in the foot. But again, if you have a quarter of that, even one of the 4 quarters where you are sloppy, Ryan Jensen's getting someone's face and gets a personal foul, and next thing you know, you look at the scoreboard and it's 14-0. So you just got to be really, really careful with this Kansas City team, especially because they've been here. Like, last year, you have to remember, this is a team that ran like a play that was in the Super Bowl like 70 years ago or something like that. Like, as far as creativity is concerned, they're not going to probably throw too much at you that you've seen, this year, because obviously Tampa was watching tape, not only from the game that they played earlier this year, but just, all year for Kansas City. And that's one thing about Eric Bieniemy, especially Andy Reid, too. I mean, Andy Reid doesn't get enough credit for this. He's a guy who can put together a creative game plan and give himself and his team a chance. It's just the players haven't always executed the way that he would like, right? And I think, one thing that you'll see, I think this tomorrow, is just that I think Kansas City is going to come out and show you stuff that you've never seen before. First of all, I really do think they're going to run the ball a lot more than people think. I think they would like to make sure that Tampa Bay's not in a position where they can just continue to have nickel and dime coverages and just let them sort of play this soft conservative defense. Like, Kansas City's going to be forced to run it on second and short, or forced, usually they would love to like play action, go long, be creative, but I think Kansas City's going to be in a position where they're like, we got to take what they give us, and if that means just like cheap 3-4 yards here, we're going to take it. And I think Tampa Bay, Todd Bowles, I think he's going to be ready for that. So it's going to be really interesting to see who comes out on top in that aspect.
I also want to talk about, I know I said that some of the best matchups a couple minutes ago are taking place more so on the sidelines than they are on the actual field. Another one I kind of want to highlight is Byron Leftwich, who I feel called a phenomenal game in Green Bay that first half. Just the way they were moving the ball down the field against Steve Spagnuolo. Steve has seen Tom before. Remember the Super Bowl in Indianapolis, Giants-Patriots. That pass rush was after him. So you don't really think he hasn't been in that front four's ears and said, look, the only way we win this football game and our defense is going to make plays is if our front four gets home. We have to put pressure on him. Because the other day on the radio when I was helping preview the Super Bowl, when I was on the Prime, the host said, he asked me, which quarterback do you think is more difficult to stop? Is it Mahomes or is it Brady? And I said Brady, just due to the simple fact, when he gets into a rhythm, it's almost impossible to limit him. It's almost impossible to stop him. When you hit him, you discombobulate him. He gets frustrated. He's making frustration throws. Look at the AFC title game a couple years ago, New England and Denver. Wade Phillips was in his ass all game long.
Yeah. Nick, I want to ask you. Yeah, go ahead. Because I was about to go that way.
Which team is going to have the better running game, and will that team win? Well, I'll go ahead and answer that one first. Without question, I think the easy answer to this question is Tampa.
Yeah.
Kansas City is going up against the number one rushing defense in the NFL. There's a reason for that. and that number one rushing defense in the NFL just got one of the main reasons why they're the number one rushing defense in the NFL, and that's Vita Vea back. So I think Tampa runs the ball a lot more effectively. I think you're going to see a lot of Leonard Fournette. Ronald Jones has kind of been in and out with quad and foot injuries, even though he's played. But when Leonard Fournette has finally done what I've been wanting him to do all year, and that's just run the ball, dude. Yeah. You're 6'2", like 6'1", and 220 some pounds of just straight bulldozing nonsense. And I swear to God, every time he hits the hole, he's just waiting to get hit.
Yeah.
Dude, just keep running the football, bro. Yeah. Like, what are you trying to do?
That's the Jaguars effect, Nick. That's the Jaguars effect.
Yeah, I'm definitely, to answer the question, I'm definitely going to agree. I'll say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because when they want to make it a point of emphasis to run the football, they'll do it. You saw it in New Orleans. They kept feeding Leonard Fournette the ball, kept feeding him the ball, and it seemed like the more they kept feeding him the football, he kept doing something with it. So I have a feeling that's going to be Tampa's game plan early on if they get the football first. Keep feeding Fournette the ball. Keep Mahomes in that Chiefs offense on the sideline. I also think this game comes down to who handles third down a lot better. Tampa was incredible in that game against Green Bay. That's the reason why they won that game. And there's still a play that makes me angry. Nick, I think you know what I'm talking about. It's 3rd and 9. Green Bay, they get the interior pressure on Brady. They flush him to the left side of the pocket, and he just floats it up the field for Chris Godwin for 52 yards. Yeah. It's 3rd and 9. You got to get that stop right then and there.
That was a crucial play in that game.
Right. I don't think people really understand the importance of what third down and how beneficial it is to a football team. One, it keeps your offense on the field. Moving the chains, that's almost like making a basket on the basketball court. So you get new life. 2, it keeps your defense well rested with fresh legs and feet on the sideline. 3, it keeps their offense on the sideline. And 4, it's keeping their defense, who's probably gassed at this point, on the field. So I think the team who has the better third down conversion rate is going to end up winning this football game.
Yeah. I also think for the Super Bowl in general, I've always thought this since the long halftime shows happened. I think whoever wins the first half is going to have a huge advantage because, you know, when you come out of a long halftime show, it takes a little while to get your groove on. And then, you know, if you're a team like Kansas City and you're up by, let's say, 10 points, by the time you are looking at the third quarter, really all you need to do is just start to burn some clock. And, you know, how did Oakland beat, or Oakland, I keep calling them Oakland, how did Vegas beat Kansas City earlier this year? Like
they outscored them. They outscored them.
Keep them off the side. But when the most effective pouring that Vegas and John Gruden did was, let's keep the ball for as long as possible before scoring, right? Let's not like go for these, you know, we're not going to go for 40, 50 yards on every single play here. Let's just get Josh Jacobs going, get what we have to go going. And then I think, you know, keeping Patrick Mahomes on the sideline is going to be really important, and that's why I think the turnover battle is so crucial for Tampa Bay. Like, you can't give away the ball in this game.
And also, if I'm Tampa Bay, I'm looking at the game film from that game in particular because the Las Vegas Raiders, you almost had me say it, Mack. I almost said Oakland. The Las Vegas Raiders, they had the perfect defensive game plan for most of that game. Yeah. They were able to rush 4. It looked like they were going to show blitz, and they would drop everybody back and keep a spy in the middle of the field. Yeah. Don't be surprised if Todd Bowles does that again, similar to what he did against the Saints.
It's going to be tough sideline to sideline. I guarantee you. Yeah, I was about to say Devin White. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, Devin White's going to be there waiting to hit him. So, you know, someone's going to have to – I'm with you. Someone's going to have to keep contained because you know both JPP and Shaq Barrett is going after him. And I think Devin White's going to end up being that dude. But I think, again, to your point, Christian, though, it's going to be important that Tampa's able to at least get some pressure without having to blitz and not leaving one-on-one coverages and not leaving anyone vulnerable to a big play. So that's why I think that front 7 is important, or at least that front 4, front 5 is important for Tampa to get pressure on Mahomes and make him uncomfortable in that pocket.
And if that foot is really bothering him, and this is just me being the former defensive end, I'm making him run. I'm flushing him to the left. I'm flushing him to the right. I'm making him push off that foot. And I want him to test me with his foot. I know it's crazy to say it. Every time I say that, everybody thinks, oh, I could tell you probably played dirty. Nah, it's, trying to get one up on your opponent.
Yeah, that's just being a defensive player. Like if you're a former defensive player, first of all, we came from a different age of football, right? Where like, my coaches just straight told me, "Hey, go for his ankles. Like, go for his." It wasn't no finessing around it, right? We came from the era of Greg Williams and the what do they call them, the Bounty Gate? Yeah, we came from the Bounty Gate days. Nick,
that happens more than I think a lot of people.
Oh yeah,
expect. That happens all the time. It's even happening in Pee Wee leagues.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I'm telling you, I went to a shitty high school program. In a shitty high school, we were constantly streaming. Everybody that's listening from streaming high school knows that we never ever won anything, and that was the mentality. It was like, it's a very like, I'm macho and we're just gonna hit him in the mouth, and like there's no real strategy to it, and that's why we probably never won any games.
Hey, real quick,
yeah.
Dude, I can't believe I'm actually gonna bring this up, and this is insanity. But if I'm the Kansas City Chiefs, right, and I win the coin toss. Of everything I can really sit here and talk about, I'm talking about the coin flip.
Yeah, please.
But the reason why I can even bring this up is because we know that Tampa Bay loves getting the ball first.
Right,
and
right.
they love setting the tone.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
if you're Kansas City and you win it, do you play right into the hands of Tampa and say, okay, yeah, we'll give you the ball first because we really want it?
Yeah.
Or do you make the defense come out on the field and you trust your offense? You say, hey, go out there, set the tone. Let's force Tom Brady to have to play from behind.
Right.
Or, it sounds goofy that I could even bring this up. But, again, Tampa Bay loves to have the ball first because they were playing from behind so much and they were getting off to the slow starts.
Yeah.
That since the Atlanta game, they've taken the ball first. They come down, score touchdowns. They did it against Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
They did it against Atlanta again. Washington, New Orleans, Green Bay, especially Green Bay. You win the toss, first drive out, Mike Evans wide open, 17 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. Like if you're Kansas City, like you said, the first half's going to be important because the weekend is going to bore us for like 35 minutes to where I can go and drop heat while that's going on, or I'll just, flirt with Georgette for 35 minutes until the game comes back on. I'm not watching the halftime show because I don't care.
I love the weekend, but I just don't care about halftime shows. I always switch them off.
No. The weekend has put up $7 million of his own show. Who cares?
Good
dude?
for him.
Exactly, dude. Like I hate to sound like the old head of the group.
Yeah.
We can't bring back Michael Jackson anymore. He's gone.
No.
We can't bring back Prince. We can't bring back Tom Petty. Those three of the best halftime shows that we've had.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't need all the glitz and glamour when it comes to halftime shows, but if you're going to put up a musical guest that's up there, can we get something we can all sing to?
Yeah, not Baby make. I think of Weekend as Baby making music. I'm not trying to listen to Baby making music at halftime of the Super Bowl.
Thank you. I'm not trying to get
trying to get freaky at the halftime show. Yeah. Not trying to get freaky and cop a feel during the halftime show. No, I love the Weekend, but I just don't. I don't fuck with. First of all, I think it's a little bit dangerous. I hate to take it to this level, but I think it's a little bit dangerous to have a 35 to 40 minute break in between. I think when you play 18 plus games with it's no more than 15 minutes most games, and then you almost triple that. That's a little bit dangerous for the players too. And then again, back to what you were saying, Nick, like with the kickoff, or I'm sorry, the coin toss.
The coin flip.
like at this point, you're like, who cares what's going to happen in the second half? Because I'm going to wait 45 minutes. The weekend's going to be, parading on stage. I might as well take the ball now. If I'm Kansas City, you're right. I might as well set the tone. I might as well take that ball and try and drive it down the field. But, I just think in general that first score is going to be ginormous, man, because I think it was the Packers game, the first time Tampa Bay scored, I knew they were going to win. I tweeted it and put on my Facebook right away. I love seeing Packers get exposed, and I had a couple of my buddies say, it's only the first quarter. I knew it was over, because when you give up that type of touchdown and with basically like a knife through butter type defense, and then you're like, yeah, but there's still 3 quarters. I just knew right away. I had that feeling that Tampa Bay came to play, and not only that, the Packers did not come to play defensively that day. And again, they pinned it on their defensive coordinator, but I think it had more to do with the fact that can't stop the run when you need to, couldn't get off the field on third down, and you couldn't force turnovers the way you wanted to. Like you forced the turnovers out of Tom Brady that you wanted, but it was almost too little too late, and you didn't even capitalize on it like you needed to. Like we talk about that last drive where it was 4th and whatever in your red zone, and you're like, maybe I'll just kick a field goal and then trust my defense. That's not going to fly in this game, and I expect a high octane game. I'll be honest with you. I think it's going to be like a shootout of some sorts. I know Tampa Bay's defense is really strong, but I just think right now Kansas City's got something in their back pocket ready for a rainy day, so to speak. Like like break glass in case of emergency. I think that's what they're gonna do this tomorrow. I think they're gonna bust out the plays that are quick and put themselves in a position to get to Tampa Bay early.
Yeah, and let me say this. You may not actually be too far off on the rainy day analogy, because supposedly rain is in the forecast.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll take it.
And if that's the case, advantage Tampa Bay.
Sure.
Because I think, that slows down Kansas City, and it's going to force them to run, and I can't beat a dead horse anymore to let you know that the best run defense in the NFL is in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So, and you're going into the game with 2 running backs on the injured list as well.
Yeah.
So if it does rain and the passing game isn't going to be as crisp as it once was, you might be right, dude. Maybe they do have something for the rainy day coming out. So
and the offensive line, when your 2 of your best offensive linemen are out, that's gonna be a tough game. And Nick, I definitely want to talk to you about a little baseball and a little bit more about the basketball stuff. But I want to get your sort of full. Let's talk predictions. Let's talk how you think the game goes. I want to get yours first, and I'll let Christian go after that, and I'll go last. But give me an idea of how you think this game shakes out.
Well, it's not rocket science to know who I think is going to end up winning this game. I'm most definitely going with Tampa on this one.
Yeah.
I don't think. Okay, this is what I'll say. I don't think that the same result that we saw in 2002, 2003 is going to happen, where Tampa comes out, they come out like they did against Oakland in 2003.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Came out, hit him in the mouth, and pretty much dominated from, I wouldn't say from beginning to end, because Brad Johnson did throw an interception that led into a field goal. But once Tampa Bay got on the board with the field goal and made it 6-3, it was pretty much a wrap after that, because Tampa Bay would then intercept Rich Gannon a few times, and Tampa Bay took the lead. I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think that Tampa Bay's defense is going to come and play. And I think that I really think Vita Vea is the X factor in this, because of the lack thereof of Kansas City's offensive line. I think the MVPs in this is going to be the front 7 for Tampa Bay. I think us getting Antoine Winfield Jr. back is going to be huge for our secondary. Mike Edwards has been playing really well. I don't think that Carlton Davis will be on Tyreek Hill. I really think it's going to be Jamel Dean, because Jamel Dean is a lot faster and can keep up with Tyreek maybe a little bit better than Carlton Davis. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to be all up to if Tampa's defense can stop the big plays on Kansas City's offense. And I think vice versa is the other way, because we can talk about all the stars on Tampa's defense. My question for Kansas City's defense is what stars are gonna step up on that one. Can Chris Jones be, disruptive enough to get Tom Brady out of his flow? Will they be able to stop the run against Leonard Fournette? And I think that's another thing. One thing about Tampa's offensive line is once they start developing those run lanes, dude, they love running the football. And I think if Leonard Fournette, and I really bring his name up more because he's more healthy and it's had the better playoffs than Toronto Jones. But I think if Tampa Bay can get that run offense going to kind of alleviate the pressure from Tom Brady, and let's not try to make Tom Brady the second coming of Superman, I think Tampa's going to be okay. I think Tampa ends up winning this game. I'm going to say 35. I will say 35-24. I'm going to go with Tampa on this one. 35-24.
Okay.
And I think Super Bowl MVP, I'm going to go with Shaq Barrett with Super Bowl MVP. I'm stepping out of the box. I think he has a huge game with Vea on his side. I think he eats that right tackle up that's making his first start. And I think it's just the blood in the water for the Shard for Tampa Bay. And I think they pull this one out.
What about you, Christian? I want to get your opinion, man. I want to, because certainly I think what Nick was just talking about was a kind of a amalgamation of what we've been talking about the whole show, which is like score the ball, but also make sure not to give the ball back quickly. Don't give the ball away for no reason, no turnovers. So what are you thinking right now? Like, how do you think the game shakes out, and what's your prediction?
I think it's going to be a shootout. I think
Me
we're
too.
going to see a shootout in this one. I think both teams, they're going to let this ball fly up and down the field. But here's the thing that I normally do. This is where the intrigue comes in. I did part one of my preview yesterday, the one I titled after the Jay-Z song,
Yes,
Already
sir.
Home. Usually every Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, about an hour or 30 minutes before kickoff, I release a video completing my preview of X factors, some keys to the game, and who I have winning. So I'll be sure that I tag you guys in it. I may even do a live video on Facebook for this. So be on the lookout for that. So I'm pulling a Kirk Herbstreit.
I love it. Can't give it all away on the show. No, I love it. You know what? For me, and I'll be watching out for that. Please tag me, and I'll make sure to share that out for you. I agree, though, Christian. I see this as a shootout. To be quite honest, man, right. I think Tampa Bay's defense is better. I just don't necessarily think that matters in the grand scheme of things, right? I think Tampa Bay has the offense to score the points no matter what Kansas City does resistance-wise, and I think the same of Kansas City. I think the one thing that worries me about Kansas City is exactly what Nick was just talking about, the pass rush. If Shaq Barrett can have a Super Bowl MVP type game, I really do think that Tampa Bay pulls away, but I see this one as a shootout. I think 38-35. That's kind of where I see this going. I think it's going to be close, and we talked about it with I think the Bucs and Packers game. I think whoever has the ball last is in a really, really nice position in this game, because I think no matter what, I don't think we're in for a blowout. I don't think you could say that about a lot of Super Bowl. I mean, I'm sure people said that about that Seattle and Denver game a couple years back. So obviously, I don't want to put my foot in my mouth, but I know that in general, though, I think that both of these teams have the necessary weapons to make it a really exciting game, which I'm really excited for. But also, I do think that right now, whoever has the ball last, and it possibly could, we haven't talked about it yet, but it possibly could come down to the kickers. Like, it could come down to Ryan Suckup and Harrison Butker. And remember, Harrison Butker has had some really nice seasons previous to this, but hasn't had his best season this season. It wasn't really utilized much this season, to be quite honest, because quite frankly, Kansas City is a very aggressive team. They're, if basically, if they're close, if they're in their own territory, if they're in their opponent's territory, they're probably going to go for it, right? So, you just got a lot of storylines here to tell. I think one thing that is kind of falling short is a special team. So I think it'll come down to a last-second field goal or a last-minute field goal, and I think it'll be 38-35 Kansas City.
Yeah, I'll be sure to definitely tag you guys when I do this video. Yeah, I can't wait, man. Thank you guys for having me on.
Of course, man.
This was fun again. I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, dude, it's gonna be awesome. And Nick, I'm gonna put it out into the universe right now. When we do our training camp reviews, we got to get Christian back on, man. There's no way.
I'll be there. Consider it done.
Love it. And I have two Knicks. I have two Knicks fans on the line with me right now. So I was hoping we could, talk about a sweep of the Bulls. The Bulls win 2 straight against the Knicks, and didn't really happen the way I was hoping in the second game. But man, we talked about it before the show, Nick. There's a lot to be excited about if you're a Knicks fan right now. Let's just put it this way, right? I think maybe that's a little bit of a harsh, statement. There's a lot more to look forward to right now for the Knicks than there has been in easily the last couple of years.
Oh, easily, dude. And I told it to you guys before we came on to the show. The Knicks played Portland earlier today and beat them. And Portland only scored 99 points. Here's the crazy part. Only one other team all year has held Portland for under 100 points, and the Knicks happen to be one of them. So, defensively, this team is really good.
Yeah. Tibbs got them playing, man.
Yeah, dude. And again, I think the one piece the Knicks need, because it happened in this game, was that they need that one fourth quarter game set match shooter kind of guy. They don't have that yet.
Yeah.
Because they went cold in the last 3 minutes, but luckily for us, so did Portland.
Yeah,
so, we were able to pull that out. So I think it was a huge win by the Knicks today. They play the Heat tomorrow afternoon as well, and the Heat haven't really been playing good basketball either. So the Knicks can really, hopefully come out and win 3 games in a row. And with this win today, it puts the Knicks in a tie for 6th in the East. And as I mentioned earlier, if the season was to end today and the Knicks make the playoffs, Tom Thibodeau easily is coach of the year, and there should not be any kind of debate whatsoever. The number 1 defensive scoring team in the league in the Knicks, and they're the 6th best team in the East right now. Man, do I really bring up any other credentials?
Just want to let you guys know, I'm going to get going.
Okay.
So I'm going to keep watching the rest of the show. Yeah, I'll be on with you guys soon. Again, all right?
Cool. Appreciate you, Christian. Thanks, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll talk to you next day. All right.
Hey, hold on a second. Hold on a second, bro.
You good?
I was just asked by Sean, because Sean Turner, who's a diehard Chiefs fan, said that if the Chiefs scored 35, he'll become a Knicks fan. I hope you have your blue and orange ready. And he just asked me, he said, is your O-line better than the Chiefs D-line? Yes, it is. Yeah. Yes, it is. Do we really want to go down this road? Ali Marpet has given up like 1 sack all year. Tristan Wirfs has given up like 1 sack almost all year and really hasn't given up any sacks since he got hip tossed by Khalil Mack. Aaron Stinney, that everybody laughed at when he filled in for Alex Kappa when he fractured his ankle against Washington. Tom Brady has been touched maybe 1 time. Ryan Jensen might be the best, meanest center in the football. And Donovan Smith, believe it or not, is having his best Kenyatta Walker impersonation with what he did in 2002, because, no offense, even the great Zadarius Smith never even sniffed
Yeah.
What's his name? Tom Brady in the game.
Yeah.
So who on the Chiefs defensive line is going to get a consistent pass rush against Tampa Bay's offensive line that's been a step and above better over the last month and a half? So do I think that my offensive line is better than your defensive line? By leaps and bounds, I do.
I don't necessarily even think. I don't think Kansas City has the depth to really talk about. They're really top heavy. We talked about Chris Jones and Frank Clark, but if you look at it, Tampa Bay has 4. I would say. If you're let's go back to PFF. If you're like looking at PFF rankings, I would venture to say that you have 4 of the top 50 offensive linemen in the league. I think that's really, really hard to match up against. And even like if you look at the Packers with what they have, they've got the Smith brothers, but on top of that, Rashawn Gary, and they've got guys on the inside, and I just think that Kansas City's strength on the defensive side is their secondary. That's really the big thing, is their secondary can make plays. The cornerbacks are not as good as you probably would want them to be, but when you talk about the safeties, they have playmaking safeties that can really, really go and ball hawk, and I just think that like the offensive line for me for Tampa Bay is not going to be the liability in this thing. I just think it's going to be. I really do think it's going to come down to the second and third levels. But that's a good. I guess with Sean. I think what he's probably trying to say is like, okay, well, is Tampa Bay's strength their offensive line? Well, not necessarily, right? They have 3 of the best playmaking receivers in the league, one of the best tight ends in the league, one of the probably the best backup tight end in the league, right, in Cameron Bray. And then, on top of that, you got 3 running backs who can do what they do. So do I necessarily think that Tampa Bay's strength is their offensive line? No, but I do think that Kansas City probably doesn't have enough to say we're much better than them.
Right. And he also said, if you don't think Tyreek is going to eat, you're crazy. I didn't say that he wasn't. I'm just saying he's not having a 13 reception, 269
yeah, I have a hard time seeing that
like he did like he did against Tampa back in Week 12.
Yeah.
But again, if you actually looked at the game and you're not stat watching, 8 receptions, 203 yards, and 2 touchdowns of that came in the first quarter.
1 quarter, yeah.
He was pedestrian the rest of the game when Tampa Bay made adjustments. So I'm not saying that Tyreek's not going to get his catches and he's not going to get yards. I'm just saying it's not going to be the phenomenal, ridiculous game that he had in Week 12. I just don't see that happening. And I think, and again, if Tampa Bay can get that pass rush on it, those plays are not going to come easy.
This is a different
like
defense, too.
Buffalo.
This is a different defense than the one Kansas City faced earlier in the season. We mentioned not only Vita Vea, but just in terms of like confidence, having Devin White and Levante David, in the middle together, that's going to be really tough. I do agree with Sean in a way that I think Tyreek will eat, but I think the thing is though, and this isn't that far-fetched, it's not like Kansas City hasn't lost games in the past where Tyreek Hill has had good games, right? So, I think that's another huge thing is like, I don't even really care about what Tyreek Hill does to me. It's going to be about what Mahomes can do because he's going to spread the ball around. He's going to need to spread the ball around. It's not going to. He can't just pinpoint Tyreek like he did in the first quarter of that game earlier. It's going to come down to the Sammy Watkins. It's going to come down to the Le'Veon Bells, the secondary players. Because I really do think that Tampa Bay, to me, is deeper when it comes to offensive weapons than Kansas City is. So if you want to talk about who's the best, listen, we can sit here and argue about who's the best receiver is in that group. I don't know if Tyreek, we can go and look at the numbers between Tyreek and Mike Evans and Godwin and whatnot. But I do think right now, if you're looking at looking down the line, Kansas City's list kind of stops right here. And then, Tampa Bay's list kind of stops down here, right? So I think you've got more options for Tom Brady than you do for Patrick Mahomes. But, one thing I just keep going back to is I'm never going to be betting against Patrick Mahomes again in my mind just because what he did last year and with a, might I add, I would say rawer offense overall, and now a little bit more seasoned to Eric Bieniemy and Andy Reid's style of play. I just really think that Patrick has that it factor. And I said it to my barber, man, I got to say this. I cannot fathom, Nick, how somebody from the Bears front office organization was at the combine looking at quarterbacks and then looked at Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson and then looked at Mitch Trubisky and go, Mitch Trubisky's our guy. Like, just based on arm strength and just overall look of a quarterback, that somebody chose a 1.5-year starter from North Carolina over Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. I have to go back to this, that I'm flabbergasted that anybody, hopefully they're not with the organization anymore, but Ryan Pace is still with the organization. That's a huge, huge slap in the face to Bears fans all across the world, because when you look at it, I get it. We're not going to be going back into the past, but I can't fathom somebody going to Indianapolis, to Lucas Oil Stadium, looking at these guys in combine shorts and tights and going, I want Mitch Trubisky. I don't want those other guys.
All right. I agree with you with that to an extent, but let me ask you this question. Who was the Bears quarterback the year that they drafted Trubisky?
The previous year was a John Fox era.
He was drafted.
No, because that was the year they signed Mike Glennon. Yeah, so it was Glennon. Glennon was in his first year with the Bears when they drafted Trubisky. So the year before, I'll look that up first, because it was a John Fox era Bears, and that in my mind, I just kind of automatically omit that from my memory. Let me look that up for us.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of my I think to me that's kind of where I'm going, because I had made mention that you notice the picks that Jason Light and Bruce Arians are making are a little bit better than the picks that Jason Light and Dirk Cutter are making.
Right.
Okay, so let's look at the picks from Bruce Arians. You get Devin White, you get Mike Edwards, you get Sean Murphy Bunting. Vita Vea was a pick by Dirk Cutter. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You get Tristan Wirfs, and you get Scotty Miller, and you get Tyler Johnson,
yeah.
And you get the mindset of the draft picks under Bruce Arians have worked out in better than they are under Dirk Cutter. And I think that's what happens here, where you have Ryan Pace, right? Yeah. With John Fox. John Fox isn't necessarily the best offensive talent. I'll give him props where it's due. Somehow he took a Carolina team with Jake Delhomme as their starting quarterback
that was pretty
to
nuts.
the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But
that defense was amazing that year. That Carolina defense was really good. Yeah.
It was really good. Starring Julius Peppers when he was still in his raw prime, those years. But my thing is, John Fox and Ryan Pace must have seen something in Mitch that maybe he didn't see in Deshaun and seeing Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
But if you look at the path that these quarterbacks have gone in, maybe the path for Mahomes and the coaching staff for Mahomes favors him better than the situation with the Bears, because I think that Mitchell came in 8 games too early.
Yeah, that's right.
I think the thought process of the Bears was, we're going to sit him on the bench, have him learn the offense. I know he's the number 2 pick. Who cares? We don't want him to start, but we do have our quarterback for the future, and this is who we're going to bring out. Then you bring him out, but then you fire John Fox, so now it becomes the Matt Nagy show. Yeah. And in the first year under Matt Nagy, you're 12-4 and you're in the playoffs.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the problem is that Matt Nagy and Matt Nagy pretty much has taken the same route as Sean McVay has, where it's like, okay, yeah, I'm working with him, but this isn't necessarily my guy.
That's true.
But I'm not going to give him the proper, it's almost like this bullseye. It's going to keep getting bigger. But when you win, I'll make it smaller for you. But that doesn't mean it's off your back.
True. And that's
you feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's the one benefit of the doubt I've always given Matt Nagy, and I always get trash for it from fellow Bears fans, that he never chose Mitch Trubisky. Okay, I cannot blame him for something he wasn't here for, right? So you can never blame him for Mitch Trubisky, but it's make or break for him this year, because it's like there's no excuses. They're going to go and get the quarterback that clearly he wants. I think Ryan Pace should be out of a job right now, though. I think Ted Phillips should be out of a job right now. I think whoever was in the scouting department that said, yeah, we want Mitch Trubisky over these other two guys need to be out of a job right now. I'm sorry. I just don't, I have a harsh look at this because, and by the way, it was the last years of Jay Cutler, Nick, that led up to that. So I didn't think it was possible, because I remember that last year it was a lot of Matt Barkley and Brian Hoyer, because Jay Cutler was constantly hurt that year. So yeah, the year before they drafted Trubes, it was Jay Cutler, and then they signed Mike Glennon, and the rest is history. So I don't want to become too infatuated with that.
You said it was who? My fault, bro.
No, you're good, bro. It was Jay Cutler. It was the last year of Jay Cutler, because Jay was hurt that last year, and it was just a lot of Matt Barkley, it was a lot of Brian Hoyer. So that's why I probably wouldn't remember that, because that was pretty much a lost season for the Bears after Jay went out, and then the next year they bring in John Fox, and then. Actually, the John Fox was there for that first or that last year of Cutler, but then again they draft Trubisky, and I don't want to go back to it, but I'm just the reason why it came in my head is just because it's like when you look at, like, for example, this year with Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields and Trey Lance, and there's a couple of other guys, I think Mac Jones is entering his name into that list. Just like looking at it from like a surface level and thinking, man, like these quarterbacks, just looking at them sling the ball, they do a really good job. And I've always said it too. I don't want to be too harsh on the Bears, because that's what you do. You go and get your guy, right? You go and say, this is the guy that I think can run our offense and can win us the Super Bowl. And they did that, but unfortunately, nobody's been held accountable for the fact that didn't work out. So I'm not here advocating for anybody to lose their job. I just don't necessarily think that was a great pick. But anyways,
right. But back to the NBA.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because how do I want to put this?
Mm-hmm.
This past week just reassured why I've hated Bulls fans since 1990.
Yeah. Go ahead. Okay. Yeah, I was one of them this week.
so let's go back to earlier in the week. The Bulls get gift wrapped a win against the Knicks, right? Pure gift wrapping.
Yeah.
Dude, and here's the funny part about all this, because a lot of people don't believe me.
Yeah.
I was watching the first half of the game, and then in the second half, my girlfriend and I, we went out.
Yeah.
And I didn't really get a chance to watch the second half of the game, but I was trying to stay away from my phone. But ESPN happened to be right there, and I saw the score, and I was like, okay, whatever, we lost. So I put my phone down for obvious reasons. But when I picked it up, my Facebook wall is lit. Ha, y'all still trash. Y'all suck. This and that. Best thing I said the entire time. I'll see y'all on Wednesday. Take your licks in, say whatever you want to, but I'll see you on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Tell me why we return the favor on Wednesday, and the saltiness from Bulls fans never flipping ends. And when I tell you that I despise Bulls fans, just look at my wall, bro, because I don't understand what the flex is, okay?
Yeah.
So let me make sure that I got this straight, because maybe I'm confused.
Yeah.
As much as I love the New York Knicks, and as much as I thought that little first 2 or 3 year stretch between, what was it? It was like 2009 and 2013, around those Carmelo years, when we first got him. Those were some fun years. 2012, Knicks win 52 games, 52 or 56 games. We're second in the East behind the Miami Heat. That's the year that Derrick Rose decided not to come back from the meniscus tear. Right. Knicks second best team, but we get upset by the Indiana Pacers. Fine, right? If you take those, I'm a minus those years, okay? And then I'm going to minus maybe a couple of years with the Bulls, especially they went to the Eastern Conference Finals. Since 2000, what have the Bulls done so much better than the Knicks?
Yeah, I think that's a key point, right? So much better, right? Like that's the key point is like, yeah, the Knicks have sucked, but so have the Bulls. Yeah,
bro. That's my point. That's my point. See, here's the problem. People just love to argue with me sometimes because I think they get a rile.
You're fun to argue with.
And on top of that, when it comes to Bulls fans trying to rag my squad is when I get heated the most. Because it's the pot calling the kettle black. The Chicago Bulls have not been that great since 2000. The best thing you guys did was go to the Eastern Conference Finals, and I give you props for that, only to get waxed in 5 by the LeBron James-led Miami Heat. But you haven't sniffed anything since then. And if you want me to be real petty, the last team to go to the finals between us two was who? Exactly my point. But it's a useless point because we didn't win anything. But what I'm saying is, since 2000, the Bulls have been just as futile as the New York Knicks. So in this case, if you want to just come at me from a rivalry standpoint and say, hey, we beat you, that's fine. But to say that my team sucks, like as if your team just came off of winning 5 championships in a row. Dude, kiss my ass, dude. And that's what blew me, because when I returned the same licks that I said on Wednesday that I received on Monday, well, our team is much better than yours, and it's funny that you didn't say anything when we lost. What kind of flex am I going to have when we lose games? I don't understand what the mentality is of fans nowadays. That's just like you get people that how all these Buccaneer fans are coming out of the woodwork because they're winning games. You're right, because us being in the cellar dwellers for at least maybe 7 of the last 10 years that we've been in the league, let me flex my muscles because we've been in the cellar of the NFC South for 7 of the last 10 years. That comes off as a weird flex. You know, we went 7-9 last year and had a quarterback who historically threw for 5,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 30 interceptions. But please let me flex on everybody else in our division when they were clearly better than we were. Dude, I don't get it. And that's why Bulls fans piss me off, because let's not forget that you had such draft picks as Marcus Fizer, Tyrese Thomas.
Come on, you don't have to bring those up now, man.
I can keep going. How about, dude, let me try and find
Marcus
that Reddit
Fizer.
stream that you had put on your Facebook that I conveniently saved about all the blunders the Bulls have done over the last maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 years. I'm sure you'll be impressed with some of the moves that they have made. Dude, piss off.
Anybody.
And then now all of a sudden the Bulls fans are, oh, let's bring Derrick Rose back to Chicago and let him retire. How about you let Derrick Rose go somewhere he's more appreciated, which could be New York and or LA Clippers.
It's funny how that works, right, Nick? Where it's like they ran the guy out of town. They damn near, destroyed his character, almost destroyed his career, quite frankly. And ran him out of town, and then now it's like, well, we want him back, and it's like that's most of you motherfuckers were the first ones to talk about him and the whole, oh, why didn't he come back? Why didn't he play? It makes no sense. But I agree. I think Bulls fans that are flaunting beating the Knicks is like, my booty stinks less than your booty does, you know. It's like both of our booties stink, but man, my booty stinks a little bit less today. So it's futile. Like, and also, let's be honest. I mean, the Bulls and the Knicks are on the same level. Nobody's going to give anybody credit for the Knicks beating the Bulls or the Bulls beating the Knicks, right? It's about beating teams that are better than you, and the Knicks have done that more this year. I'll just be frank, right? Like, the Knicks have beat better teams more than the Bulls have, and the Bulls, I have to be honest, have played tough against good teams, had a couple tough games against the Lakers that they almost won. Obviously, that most recent Portland one where, Dame beat the Bulls in the last second with the last second 3, but yeah, I just think that like, Bulls fans right now have a lot less to be excited about, or I'm sorry, a lot more to be excited about than they have in the last couple of years. So maybe it's getting to their head a little bit. But I threw you a little GIF. I threw a little GIF on your Facebook. But that's all I'm willing to do, because quite frankly, all I'm willing to do right now with the Bulls is just wait and see. Anybody who's like, "Go Bulls, we're there," it's just you're not paying attention, because right now, man, the Bulls have a lot to improve on. And let's be honest, this roster was not meant to win. Like, that's another thing that bothers me about the mentality of Bulls fans right now. Is like, no, we can't give up Zach LaVine. There's no way, he's going to be our... And, like, I agree. I think Zach LaVine's going to be a tremendous player. But my number one thing is, like, when are the Bulls going to be good enough to make Zach LaVine a real contender as a number one? It's going to take a couple of years, man. It's like, listen, if you look at the rosters that's currently constructed, Kobe, first of all, Lauri Markkanen is probably going to get max. He's going to get a max deal, I think, this offseason. And the Bulls are going to have a chance to match. And I don't think the Bulls have a choice, because they're just so short on talent right now that you almost have to match that. I think there's going to be a team that will swoop in and give him something, maybe not a max, but a pretty nice deal that the Bulls probably don't want to pay. Wendell Carter has not really worked out to what you were hoping, to be. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, Patrick Williams is going to be good, but he's a project, man. Like, this kid is getting better and better every day, and I love the pick, actually. But I just think that, like, if you're a Bulls fan who's like, Zach LaVine's going to lead us to a championship, I think that's short-sighted, man. I just don't see right now. To me, as a cynical fan, what I think of is, well, he's the biggest trade chip that we have right now, right? There's nobody that's more valuable on our team than Zach LaVine right now. And if you look at, like, the next closest valuable guy, it's probably like 2 or 3 levels down from where Zach is, because Kobe White hasn't taken the step up that he was supposed to take this year. Like I said, Lowry hasn't taken that step up, but he's still going to get paid. And then, you've got a bunch of role players around him. So, listen, if the Knicks call and they're like, Mitchell Robinson, I know you don't want to do that, but I'm saying in terms of, like, what we can get back, first of all, I don't want Dallas's pick. I just don't think Dallas's pick is gonna, be enough. It's gonna have to be, first of all, I think any trade that involves Zach LaVine should include Lauri Markkanen. I really do. And I don't know if the Knicks would be interested in that, but I think that would have to happen, because you can't let Lowry walk for nothing this year, and you also can't match a giant contract offer that I think he'll get from some team. So, like, something with Zach and Lowry for Mitchell Robinson and maybe, a package of first-round picks or whatever it may be, I think is probably. But, right now, from what I'm hearing, the market is really low, Nick. Like, everybody's talking like player swap, pick, and a young player. And to me, it's like, if you really think Zach LaVine's that good, you wouldn't want to trade him for that package.
Exactly. And the funny part is the similarities that you with the Bulls and I with the Knicks. Dude, I've seen so many people. Julius Randle needs to get out of New York and go play on a better team. But why would he want to do that? Julius Randle right now is the man in New York. And
he's doing it because of Tibbs. I'm telling you right now. This is because of Tibbs. I really, really genuinely believe that this sort of resurgence that we're seeing out of Julius Randle is very similar. He's playing the Joakim Noah role. If you remember the Joakim Noah role, which Joakim was like a point forward, but also the offense ran through him. So even if he didn't bring the ball up, he's touching the ball on almost every single play, and he's almost the playmaker on every play. And I'm telling you, like, Julius Randle is a great player, but I'm telling you, you put him back on the Pelicans, you put him back on some of these other teams that he's played with, he's not having the same type of effect that he's having right now.
No, he's not, and I'm glad you brought that up. And it goes back to me saying that I wish the Knicks could, potentially maybe find another shooter at some point.
Yeah.
Hold on a second, because Sean once again.
Yeah, no, go right ahead, please.
Sean once again is saying something. He says, "Bro, you're gonna have to double Chris Jones, which means Frank Clark is going to get home. You're crazy. Who's Frank Clark going to go against? Tristan Wirfs? Are we talking about the same Tristan Wirfs, who, in my opinion, should have been Rookie of the Year? Dude, I just told you Tristan Wirfs gave up no sacks since the hip toss of Mack, Khalil Mack.
Yeah, but also, can I point something out before you go in? That doesn't make any sense. There's 5 offensive linemen, and then what he just talked about was Chris Jones being double teamed, so that takes off 2, and then you got Frank Clark one-on-one. But that's not necessarily true because you're only talking about a 2-man rush right there, right? So I don't necessarily agree with Sean. I think that if you look at it, first of all, Chris Jones, I mean, I'm sorry, Chris Jones is a great player, but is he an automatic double team guy? I haven't seen that a lot. I mean, Oakland, for example, they have a great offensive line, so I know it's a bad example, but when they were playing Kansas City, they weren't doubling Chris Jones. He's a great player, but they weren't doubling him. You know, if you have a great offensive lineman, interior offensive lineman, you can block Chris Jones. He's blockable.
Yeah, he's saying, so we got home against Jake Allen. Pretty sure we can get at Tom. Come on. No, you can't. Again, Tampa Bay has a much better offensive line than Buffalo. Yeah. Dude, Josh Allen was always on the run when he snapped the football.
Yeah, his offensive line is terrible. Let me
ask you this question, Sean. How many times has Tom Brady been sacked in the playoffs? Twice, maybe? One against New Orleans and one against Green Bay. How many times was Josh Allen sacked? As a matter of fact, let me give you one better. How many times did Josh Allen fumble the football in his games in sacks this playoffs? Mm-hmm. I can tell you maybe at least twice.
Remember that Indianapolis game? He almost lost him the game. Yeah, he almost lost him the game against Indianapolis with that.
Exactly. So what are we talking about, dude? And then he says that Tyreek's going 12 for 150. Okay.
I can see that.
He says Tampa Bay is going to try and take away Kelsey, sure. And then he laughs at you saying that the Bucs have more weapons than Kansas City.
How? You got Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, Gronkowski. I'm not even going to put Braden until later, but we'll go ahead and put Rojo.
Scotty Miller.
Scotty Miller as well. Rojo, Fournette. We'll put Braden there. That's like 8 players that have really, really high potential. I mean, for Kansas City, it's Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Sammy Watkins. I mean, who's
Sammy Watkins is questionable for the game on Sunday.
Yeah, and both of their running backs are both injured on the injury list too. So I'm sorry, Sean. I'm not a math major, but I just counted 8 for Tampa Bay, and I haven't even gotten to 4 because first of all, Demarcus Robinson might not even play, and he's not. I mean, he's probably like on the same level that Brate is. Like, he's a good player, but not a great player. Sammy Watkins is perpetually hurt, and he's hurt. He's on the injury report for this one as well. And then, let's be honest, dude. Like, Clyde Edwards-Helaire had an amazing first game of the season, but then, like, since then, especially when he's been hurt, it's not like he's been like this world beater. So, yeah, like I said, I'm not a math major, but I think I just counted 8. Let's not even go too far with this, Nick. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Antonio Brown are all number 1 level receivers. I think we could probably agree on that, and maybe somebody will put in an argument that Antonio Brown isn't that anymore. But I would reference them to what he's looked like this year in some of his stretches, where, I mean, he has looked like a number 1 receiver, and whether or not that has to do with him getting the second and third cornerbacks of the opposing team is another story. But again, if we're just looking at wide receivers alone, it's basically 3-on-1. Tom Brady has 3 Pro Bowl, at the very least Pro Bowl level receivers, and Kansas City has 1.
Exactly.
Yeah, sorry, I don't see it, Sean. I love you, man, but I just don't see it. I think that I do agree Kansas City's probably going to win the game. I mean, listen, if you were listening earlier, I think they're going to win the game, but I think to say that, like, first of all, I don't necessarily believe that, like, the Kansas City defensive line or defensive pass rush is like, ooh, man, Kansas City's coming for you. I don't necessarily see that. I'm sorry. Like, if you look at the way that they played against Buffalo, they got off to a pretty soft start and, probably finished stronger. But I don't think anybody was looking at Buffalo as a strong offensive line either. That's one of the big things that Buffalo fans were really pissed off with after the game is they're kind of upset that they'd spent so much money at the wide receiver position when it comes to Cole Beasley, when it comes to, John Brown, it comes to obviously Diggs, and then you've got, Gabriel Davis, but they really didn't invest in the offensive line like they had hoped.
Exactly. So, nah, dude, hey, did you hear this story too? I can't believe we didn't talk about this. Did you hear that the trainer of the Kansas City Chiefs pretty much just saved the Super Bowl for the Kansas City Chiefs?
With the COVID stuff?
Yeah. Because of the barber. Apparently, the two guys that tested positive for the virus, Patrick Mahomes was next in that chair.
Oh my God.
And the trainer somehow grew a conscience. It was like, hold on a second. Let's get this guy a COVID test to make sure that he was okay. And so they stopped their haircuts. The barber gets the COVID test positive, along with the two guys that he gave the haircut to.
Jesus.
And they were like, never mind. Well, obviously we're going to wait. Dude, could you imagine the backlash that would have been given to this barber and the Kansas City Chiefs?
They might have delayed the game. They might have delayed the game, Nick. They might have just said, you know what? Let's play this next Sunday, because what are you going to do? Like, you're going to play without Patrick Mahomes? I don't know, man. You're right. That single-handedly saved the game.
And you know what? You're absolutely right. There's a great chance they would have postponed it.
Yeah. Just for quote unquote safety, but you and I both know what they would postpone it for. We want to have Jesus in the game, and if Jesus is not in the game, we're in big trouble. Did we get a response from Sean?
Must smoke crack. Hold on a second, dude.
Okay.
This dude said Brate and Gronk are weapons? Yeah, they are. Dude, do you know that Cameron Brate is one of Tom Brady's favorite weapons to throw to in the red zone?
Yeah, especially since O.J. Howard went down.
Cameron Brate's MO.
Yeah, and when Howard went down, immediately Brate was a part of the offense, and I think what he's saying is like, okay, Gronk is not necessarily like a production guy, but I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Travis Kelce is clearly like a really good tight end, but then like after that, what do they have at tight end? What do they again? Like I would caution Sean, after Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, what do you have left of this offense? And
this dude really just tried to hit us with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who you just mentioned is hurt, who we just mentioned is going against the #1 rushing defense in the NFL. Ask Aaron Jones, who is a clearly better running back than Clyde Edwards-Helaire, how his game went last week,
right,
or 2 weeks ago. I'm sure he'll give you a nice little highlight tape on how he was stopped almost all game, and oh, by the way, fumbled the football, and oh, by the way, got hurt when he couldn't take a hit from Devin White. I mean, we can bring that up if you want. We can hit the replay button, Sean, if you like to do that.
And also,
Sammy Watkins notoriously hurt.
Yeah, and Edwards-Helaire has two different injuries. I just want to mention that. It's an ankle and a hip injury for him. So even if you were to argue that he's like this amazing player, which I don't think he is. Again, he had an amazing first game. I think it was against the Texans, right? Had an amazing game against the Texans, but for what it's worth, David Montgomery had his best game of his career against the Texans. So I'm just saying that if you really want to play that game, I'm not sure Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the guy that you want to bring up. Again, I think he's a good player, but to mention him as some sort of like he's definitely not on the same level as Kelce and Tyreek Hill, and certainly not on the same level as guys like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I'll even throw AB in there as well. And even like let's even put Rojo and Fournette into the mix too.
Hey, bro. I can't believe I'm finna ask this.
Yeah.
Do we dare ask Sean to zoom in with us, dude?
Hey man, you know what?
Let me ask him.
Yeah, and also while we do, I just want to take the time while we have a little bit of time, guys. Continue to support if you are liking what we're doing here. I hope you are. Please continue to support. Tell friends about it. Give us a shout out on your Facebook, on your social medias. YouTube is definitely big for us right now. So Mack and Black, Search it.
Yeah, make sure you go to PodRiver. Don't listen to anything that I'm saying.
You can you can search Mack and Black and you'll find us, but the actual YouTube channel is PodRiver. It's POD like podcast, River RIVER. And again, that's the channel. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so that you guys will get notifications when we upload. We actually stream live on Facebook, and then we also live stream on YouTube as well. So if Facebook isn't your platform, I know we're really Facebook centered because we like doing this for all of our friends and family, but I would say YouTube is definitely a good medium for that. And if you're more of an audio only person, I know I have a few friends who say they only listen to the audio. iTunes and Spotify, we're on both. So check out the iTunes and definitely subscribe. Leave a review. Tell us how handsome we are, how good we are at what we do, stuff like that. And you can get all the links to pretty much everything we're talking about at mackandblack.com. So check out the website. And again, just tell your friends about the show. We really appreciate it. And if you have any questions, obviously feel free to jump into the chat as our boy Sean has, and definitely would love to talk to you guys a little bit more about it. And while we're doing that, Nick, because
he said sure, and I just gave him the info. So
right,
he might be coming on here in a second.
I don't know, Steve, are you back there, my man? I think I just want to make sure Steve is back there so that we can.
Yep, I'm here.
Cool.
I'm here.
Yeah, we're about to have a friend of the show zoom in here. So I don't know how we're gonna be able to work this, Steve, but we.
Hey, I don't mean to laugh. That was that caught off guard answer right there. Like,
No, I just I could tell. Let's be honest. I feel bad for Steve. He can't stay back there for 3.5 hours while us knuckleheads talk about sports and shit. So I'm always like, man, Steve, have you are you eating lunch back there? What are you doing?
That curveball is
just it's
yeah,
funny,
dude. Hey, speaking of
Where
curveballs, while we
There
were
you
on
are.
Sean.
Oh, I wanted to say,
Let's,
while I was sitting here, kind of listening to you guys do the show and everything, it's been going pretty smooth, but I got a mini fridge delivered just now.
Oh man, you know what? You're
nice.
you're out here making moves while we're doing the show. I love it, man. I love it.
Yeah. So we'll wait for.
Nice.
I guess you sent the link out to.
Yeah, our buddy Sean is gonna join in here.
Okay.
He wants to talk a little Kansas City mess here. So
sounds good.
We're hoping to get him on here in the next couple of minutes.
All right.
To wrap up on the Knicks conversation, Nick, I think I talked about it before the show. I think the seeds 5 through 11 in the East are within 2.5 games of each other right now.
Yeah.
I think Miami's down there, the Bulls are down there, Orlando's down there. I know Toronto has done better as of late. Who else? Charlotte has been surprising this year.
LaMelo snapping off as of late because they're finally giving him minutes.
Yeah. And to me, it seems seems crazy now to see that Anthony Edwards was the number 1 overall pick. I'm sorry, dude. If you're Minnesota, I know LaMelo isn't exactly number 1 worthy off the bat, but man, Anthony Edwards has had a really rough
guys.
start.
Here we go.
Where you at, though?
Sean, hey.
There he is.
All right, guys, I want to bring in our good friend, former classmate, and actually my former show partner from the season, Sean Turner, the Chiefs fan. What's going on, bro?
What's up, Sean?
What's going on? Hey, can you get this? Is this coming in pretty
There
good?
it is.
No?
We can see the red. Yeah.
Listen, my internet's pretty bad up here. My internet's pretty bad up here. I don't want to cut out. I just want to make sure you get this real quick. Okay. All right. We're good. All right.
Still seeing
What's
Kansas
going
City.
on?
What's up, bro?
What's up, man?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you something right now. First of all, thanks for having me on. I love your show, guys. First of all,
Thanks, bro.
Mac and Nick, you guys are doing a great job.
Appreciate
I love
you, bro.
listening to your show when I can. Yeah, I just wanted to start by saying that. Listen, it's going to be a great game. I can't wait. Nick, I'm so happy for you, man. I mean, all those times you were trying to defend your Bucs to everybody in the world. I'm so happy for you tomorrow, man. First of all, just soak it in, and it's gonna be a great time. It's gonna be a good time.
You sound like the older brother now, Sean, because you're like, listen, I've done this a few times. All right, we won one last year, so let me give a little pat on the head to little brother.
But hey, listen, no. Last year we got there for the first time in 50 years.
True,
Nick
true.
got there,
Yeah.
at least in the last, 30 years.
Good
So
point.
I mean,
Good point.
he's
yeah.
pretty much, he's this is old hat for him, but it's going to be a great
18
game
years
tomorrow.
is a long time, dude. 18 years is a long time. Trust me.
Yeah, but I mean, I can't wait for the game tomorrow. Honestly, it's just a testament to how great Tom Brady is. I mean, literally, just think about it. He took a team that no one was given a chance to. No one. I don't care. Anybody you asked was not giving Tampa Bay a chance, and he took them to the pinnacle. I mean, it's just amazing to know that tomorrow the Chiefs get to play the greatest quarterback of all time. It's gonna be great, man. I can't wait. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up because I mean, think about it, dude. Like the Bucs were more or less done with Jameis after he threw the pick 6 against Atlanta to end their season, and we were almost talking about signing Teddy Bridgewater, the same Teddy Bridgewater that I kept telling everybody was fool's gold when Bears fans was going crazy. Oh, why don't we sign Teddy Bridgewater?
Yeah.
No, you're better off with Mitch.
Right.
And you're seeing right now, even the Carolina Panthers, who we never mentioned in the Deshaun Watson talk, is actually in the middle of the Deshaun Watson talk. 1 year Teddy Bridgewater, and they're like, no, maybe everyone's right. This is fool's gold. Like, we shouldn't have signed him this big contract. So, the fact that Tom came to the NFC, which a lot of people thought was a tougher conference than the AFC, and the Bucs have 4 more wins this year in the regular season, and then now in the Super Bowl. You're right, dude. It's just a testament of the greatness of how of what Tom Brady has done this year. Almost the same amount of weapons, but his leadership and really stands out. And whatever he was selling, the rest of the team was buying, and whatever ass that he ripped into the Bucs team after that loss to Chicago, you could tell they responded that next week, because the very next week we didn't beat Green Bay the way we did. So, they really responded. And if Jameis is in there, and everyone knows I love me some Jameis Winston, but if Jameis is in there, this doesn't happen. We're probably 8-8, 9-7 at best.
Yeah, and I think it also, too, people really lose the fact that it had to have been a perfect situation, because Tom's just not going to go to any other team. I think the fact that Bruce Arians was there and the core and the chemistry that they have together with them, the dynamic they have together, Bruce lets Tom do what he wants to do. And I think that Tom really liked that, because he's coming off a career with Belichick, who you can't sneeze in that building without Belichick knowing about it and doing something about it. So I really think that it had to have been a perfect situation for Tom to come into a team like Tampa Bay. I think the hire of Bruce Arians was the piece that I think that Tom really liked, and obviously the weapons there too. Yeah. But Tom coming into a situation where he can basically run the offense the way that he wants to run it. Now, Byron Leftwich gets credit as well, but let's be honest. Byron Leftwich came to Tom Brady's house and was like, "Hey, man,
what do you want to run?
Yeah, what do you want? We want you to come play for us." So Byron knows what it is, but it's just a perfect scenario. Yeah. And I mean, I'm just still to this day, I like to give Nick a lot of crap about his Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Who doesn't?
We all do. Yeah, we all do.
But as soon as they signed Tom Brady, I was still like, come on, man. I mean, they're going to be 8-8 again. Brady's done. Brady's washed up. This, that, and the other. But dude, I'm so happy for you. I can't believe it. It's going to be amazing tomorrow. And let's just hope Patrick doesn't, get another concussion and get run out of the game like this last game.
Exactly. But one of the things I wanted to bring you on is because I see you commenting against Mack as far as the weapons count, because he counted 8 legit weapons.
Now, make sure you use your words correctly. Use your words correctly. He used weapons. He did not say legit weapons. Gronk hasn't been a weapon. Gronk has not been a weapon, at least since he's with the Patriots. Come on now.
No, but let's say this, Sean. If you're in the red zone, he's a weapon, right? I mean,
you definitely have to account for him in certain packages, but I mean, I think for the most part, Gronk was brought on. I mean, Gronk for the most part has been he's been a good tight end. He's been a good block. He's always been a good blocker. Okay, he's been a good blocking tight end his whole career. But I mean, yeah, you have to account for him in certain packages. But I mean, the way that I was kind of phrasing my comment was, you're not double teaming him anymore. You're not really, if you're down there in the red zone, you're not scheming for Gronk at the red zone. I mean, Mike Evans and Godwin and Fournette out of the backfield obviously are going to be what you're really looking for there. But I mean, I give it up to Gronk though. I mean, he's had a decent season. He's respectable when he gets the ball, but I just don't think you can say legit weapon this year with Gronkowski the way that they've actually. I mean, they have other guys. It's just,
yeah, but using that logic, Sean, using that logic, you still have less weapons on Kansas City than Tampa Bay, because with Tampa Bay, you know, you're still having to game plan around Mike Evans. You have to game plan around Godwin. You have to game plan around AB, and those are top 3 receivers. With Kansas City, all you're really game planning for is Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Now, again, I think what your point may hold a little water is that I think Tyreek Hill probably is a little bit higher up, and maybe Travis Kelce's a little bit higher up on what we would call the weapons poll. But I still think, as far as volume is concerned, I just think Tampa Bay has more top to bottom than Kansas City.
Well, I mean, volume. If we're going by volume wise, Chris Godwin really wasn't thrown to all that much against Green Bay. I mean, I know they're trying to force the ball to Mike Evans. Chris Godwin's been dealing with an injury, so I know that, you know, he. I mean, honestly, I thought they were going to throw the ball to him a lot more against Green Bay. I thought he was going to be pretty much the focus of their offense, but they decided to go with Fournette, obviously, with the running game, and then try to force to Mike Evans late there, which cost Tom a couple times with the turnovers. But as far as volume, I mean, it's really on a game-by-game basis, honestly. I mean, if you're looking at the playoffs, I mean, I know Kansas City really didn't try to feed Tyreek the ball too much during the season. I mean, it kind of, to me, being a Chiefs fan, and I know they won't say this, but it kind of seemed to me like they were kind of sleeping through the season. I mean, they really didn't turn on the Jets the way that they usually do. Yeah. And it was kind of weird at times. But, I mean, if volume-wise, going into this game, I mean, you never know what you're going to get from Kansas City. That's the beauty about Andy Reid. I mean, he can throw to Tyreek, 15 times one game and not throw it to him at all the next game. Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of one of those things where, yes, you do have to be aware of these players: Cameron Brate, Rob Gronkowski, Godwin, Mike Evans, Fournette out the backfield, Ronald Jones to an extent with the running game. I don't know how much they're going to use him in the passing game, but I mean, the same could be said about Kansas City. They have, they have just as many weapons, as my opinion, that Tampa Bay does. I mean, don't discount Mecole Hardman and Clyde. Clyde's practiced all week, and if he's right, he can definitely be a threat out of the backfield as well. But
like, I mean, Hardman and Scotty Miller, though, Sean, like Hardman and Scotty Miller, they're pretty much on the same level.
If DeMarcus Robinson or even Byron Pringle lately has come on, I mean, Andy can use them just like that Tampa Bay uses Scotty. I mean, as a kind of a wild card wide receiver, out of the slot or something like that. Yeah. So I just think that, it just basic game planning. I don't know. You never know what you're going to get out of Andy in his game plan, especially Eric Bieniemy. I mean, their offense is just, it's so random. You never know what you're going to get out of each guy. But no, I definitely give credit to those guys. Listen, I was going for Tampa Bay against Green Bay. I never thought Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I love Aaron Rodgers. He's a great quarterback, but he's never been that guy to win the big games. Yeah. And credit. And if you're going against Tom Brady, you have to have an excellent game. I mean, honestly. And so if you're weapons versus weapons, I mean, I love what the Chiefs have, and I know what Tampa Bay has, and let's just see what happens.
We'll put the friendly wager on, Nick. We'll put the friendly wager on with Sean. Is Nick still with us?
Nick lives in Texas now, so I don't know.
That's true. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough.
I don't know what the wager could
I was gonna say lunch, but it might be tough to coordinate with us now. Nick, are you? I think we might be having some connection problems with Nick. Nick, are you on?
Yeah, no, I'm still here.
Oh, okay, cool. I
guys.
couldn't hear you. My bad. You're
I
you're laying
hadn't
in the
said
cut. You
He
laying.
has no rebuttals. See, that's why he has no rebuttals. He knows that. He knows what I'm saying is the truth. And just like back in the day when we did the season, it is what it is.
Well, here's the thing about that. Of all the weapons that you did bring up, I think the one that I would question is Edwards Helaire, because the thing about Clyde is, if Tampa's run defense wasn't so good, I'd have been like, yeah, Clyde could eat. Not only is our run defense the best, but then we're still bringing out the best. We're bringing back our best piece on the entire run defense. So your running backs, to me, because think about it like this. As much as I knew that we were going to beat Green Bay a couple weeks ago, the only guy that I said could be a factor but end up not being a factor was Aaron Jones, because Tampa's run defense was like, yeah, they gave up a few, a 10-yard run here, a 12-yard run there, but when it counted the most, they couldn't get the run game going. And then when Aaron Jones finally did get the ball in his hands, he fumbles it, and then Tampa turns that into a touchdown to Cameron Brate, who you said wasn't a weapon. So my problem is this, is that, first of all, if it rains in this game, then Kansas City's going to be in a world of trouble, because you're going to have to at least try and run the football. And again, as I keep beating this dead horse, it's tough to do it against Tampa. But if Tampa is able to get, that's why I argued you about your defensive line against my offensive line, because I think you're underrating Tampa's offensive line. Donovan Smith has been money. Ali Marpet's been money all year. Ryan Jensen has really played better. And if you remember that game against Washington, I can't think of who that defensive tackle was. Or not Washington, but against New Orleans. I'm not sure who that defensive tackle was, but that fool was getting bullied the entire game. And the referees were more or less letting it go. And then Ryan Jensen, and then Aaron Stinney, who everybody made fun of when he came in for Kappa, has really played great, and Tristan Wirfs speaks for himself. So if Kansas City can figure out, like if Frank Clark can figure out Tristan Wirfs, then I'm gonna be like, okay, yeah, you know what, we're gonna be in trouble because Tom's getting in his face. But there's nothing right now that is proven that I think that Frank Clark is going to get the better of Tristan Wirfs. And even if they flip him, the way Donovan Smith has been playing, I can't sit here and tell you on a straight face that Frank Clark's going to do a great job against Donovan Smith when Donovan Smith's been playing great.
Yeah, I definitely think for me the game is going to be won in the trenches. Obviously, Tampa Bay's offensive line has to be good. They just have to. Now, the one thing that I would argue with you over that is, listen, Chris Jones is a Pro Bowler. Frank Clark is a Pro Bowler. New Orleans defensive line, yeah, you got some guys on there, but there's nobody on that defensive line like Chris Jones. Chris Jones, if you don't chip him or double team him, he's going to get to the quarterback one way or the other.
Not even Cam Jordan, though? You don't think Cam Jordan?
I would have to say that Marpet, coming off an injury and stuff like that, has played better. He has played good, but that offensive line is really going to have to play a really, really good game because Chris Jones is coming. Now, to your point, I do think that Frank Clark is going to have some issues with coming off that edge, but it's one of those type of deals where you got to pick your poison. Now, I really don't think, saying all that, I really don't think that Tampa Bay is going to put Tom Brady in those situations. I think Tampa Bay is going to run the ball. I think, and listen, we all know that Kansas City's run defense is not the best in the NFL. We all know that. So I think that they're going to come out and run the ball. But in certain passing situations, again, we've seen. Let me get my Kansas City hat in there. We know that we know that going against Tom Brady, it's going to be 3-step drops, just like he did with New England. He knows how to pick apart this Kansas City defense. So we're just going to have to see. We're just going to have to see what they do. And now you mentioned the rain. It is supposed to rain earlier in the day. I hope and pray that they put the tarp on the field. Okay.
Yeah.
I really hope they save that field. But you never know with Florida weather. So, but yeah, no, I mean that offensive line to me is probably going to have to be the Tampa Bay offensive line to me, and the Chiefs defensive line is something that a lot of people aren't really talking about. And I think that when it comes down to it, I think that is going to be the kind of the story that once this game is over, I think a lot of people are going to be talking about, whether it goes either way.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, listen,
Yes,
we're gonna have to get you back on, Sean. I think that's probably gonna have to happen now that we've gotten you on. Now, I think we'll.
I have a face for TV, man. Come on, I know we did a radio a lot of times, but I think
you
I
got
have
a
a face
TV
for TV.
Not with that
I really
hat
do.
on.
Look
No.
at
No.
Oh my God, put me on SportsCenter.
I love it. I love
Hey,
it.
you know, a funny part is, dude, like how long has it been since the three of us graduated? We're in the double digits at least.
Almost
right?
10 years, right?
Oh yeah,
It's got to be 10 years. Yeah.
Listen, I mean, looking back at that class, we had so much fun, man. We had so much fun.
A lot of
because we had
talent.
so many guys that love sports. It was just a great time.
There's a lot of
and
talent
to
in that
think
class.
Yeah, and to think that you guys are still doing it, man, I love it. I listen. Like I said, I tune in whenever I can. I live out here in the country, so my internet's not the greatest. So you guys are kind of in and out. Sometimes it really pisses me off. But I love watching you guys. I love listening to your takes and stuff like that. I love that Mack is still back in the Bulls. Okay, we got the Magic tonight. Yeah. Listen, last night, what the heck was going on?
Yeah, man.
I mean, did they not read in the scouting report?
Yeah,
Vucevic is a beast, man.
Yeah.
I cannot believe that.
We don't have with no Carter. We don't have anybody to guard that guy. So that's a problem. But yeah, I think we'll get him back tonight.
Yeah, I love listening to you guys. I love watching
Appreciate
you guys,
it,
and keep doing your thing. And I'd love to be on again. Listen, I mean, I love talking sports, and I think I have. You know, I like to do a little bit of research. I think I like to know what I'm talking about. So
no, you definitely know your stuff,
Christian
man.
Simpson on earlier. Christian Simpson. Let's give it up for him. Oh my gosh, coming in.
What a guy.
He has. I mean, that guy. That guy just lives football. I don't know if he has any other spare time, but I mean, he's awesome. So it was great to see him on earlier too. So
love it, man. Yeah, we're definitely. I mean, I'm gonna make an executive decision and say we have to bring Sean back here to talk, especially after the aftermath of tomorrow. So yeah, and again, I'm gonna back the Bulls for us here. I'll be the Bulls representative on the show. Make sure nobody pushes around here, especially Nick with his newfound Knicks. Get some confidence.
Don't listen to Nick. They got one win against the Bulls. He thinks that they're gonna go to the finals now. Like,
whoa!
What are you talking about? Listen, Julius Randle had the game of his life against us. All right, I mean, Nick, come on.
He looked good.
That dude was pulling shots out of his rear end towards the end of that game, and you know it. Like, come on now.
Okay, but look again. All I'm saying is the Knicks need that. Okay, RJ Barrett has played leaps and bounds better now.
Yes.
Than he probably was in like the first 2 weeks of the season.
And he was bad in the first game too.
He's gonna look great in a Bulls uniform. He was gonna look great in a Bulls uniform. I can't wait.
I'll take Mitchell Robinson off your hands.
Oh, hey, and Mac, I would wait a second before you say you don't want that Mavericks pick because
I know they're not doing really well.
Mavericks suck right now.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those type of things where it's Luka and Porzingis and who else? They're not playing any defense. And listen, I mean, I know home court doesn't really mean a whole lot, but it's just those two. And but Porzingis is just one of those guys where you can defend, you can put up a game plan against Porzingis. Yeah. I mean, he's one of those typical bigs that if you take away that outside shot, he really can't do anything. He's like Laurie. I mean, if you body him, he's going to fold. Yeah. So basically, it's just Luka and everybody else. So I mean, we'll see what happens, but the Mavericks really don't scare me with those two.
And I have a weird. Now I said this to somebody in my Yahoo in the basketball fantasy league. I think Luka's going to be an amazing number 2 one day. I'm not sure he's going to be a number 1. I just no.
Well, I mean, it's one of those type of deals too, Mac. In the NBA these days, it's like it's really hard to be a number 1.
True.
I mean, it really is.
It's harder
because you really have to put up numbers each and every night because the way they're structuring teams now, if you can't shoot the 3, you're basically done. You're basically not going to make it to the playoffs. So to be a number 1 these days, you really have to put up numbers. So it is what it is. Zach's doing great, but I think he's on his way out. I think Laurie's on his way out, hopefully. And I think the last man standing is going to be Wendell, just because, I mean, you can build a team around someone down there because if you just mold him to hit that mid-range jumper, rebound, and occasionally set that pick, I mean, that's somebody that they can hold on to, but.
Oh, Sean, you just depressed me so much, man. It's a Saturday before the Super Bowl, and you're telling me that the Bulls are going to build around Wendell Carter. I'm done,
I know, but
dude.
listen,
I'm done.
you have to talk about value, though. I mean, no one else has value other than Lori and Zach.
I agree.
Maybe Thaddeus, just because he's a wily veteran.
Yeah.
But, maybe Kobe. But Kobe's really disappointed, too, because you know that he's not a point guard. He's definitely an off guard. You can totally tell it, and they're trying to force him to be a point guard. And some nights, like last night, or actually the game against the Knicks too, it was kind of, when you come out and turn the ball over like that, it's just really disappointing.
Especially as a point guard.
It's going to be interesting to see what they do at the trade deadline. I'm telling you like that. AK's coming in. I know he's not going to play around. He does not care about feelings, and that's what I love
dude.
about.
That's what that Karnisovas guy. He is gonna. That's why I'm saying I think Lowry. The problem with Lowry right now is that somebody's gonna pay him next year. I don't think it's gonna be us. Somebody's gonna pay him next year, so we'll see. But man, that's beautiful. And also, I do want to mention before we wrap. It's nice to see. Hey, there you go.
No.
Okay. All right.
Nick's going for the Bucs. Who are we going for? How about those Chiefs?
I love it. I was just gonna say I love that the Bulls and the Knicks are both winning or quote unquote getting better without the mold of the league, which is the mold of the league is shoot 3, score 140 points and win by 2, but the Bulls and the Knicks both get it done in the paint. Defensively, they've been a lot better. I mean, it's amazing to see Egghead, Jim Boylan was supposed to be a defensive coach, and then they come in this year with Billy Donovan and are automatically better, more cohesive unit. It's crazy to see.
Well, you know that was going to happen. I mean, honestly, Billy's just a better coach.
Yeah.
And I kind of think that Jim Boylan got. I mean, I'm not defending him, but I think he kind of got a raw deal too because he got thrown in from a Spurs staff, and everyone was like, "Oh, the Spurs, Greg Popovich. Oh, this guy's great. This guy is the next coming of Greg Popovich. I mean, he's going to be a great coach." And I just kind of think that he was in over his head. To begin with, I mean, obviously, and two, he was a yes man.
He was a Garpax yes man. That's exactly what it was.
He was a
yes
man to Paxton Gar. So, but Billy he's been great, man. You could tell that the wins that the Bulls have had, they've had to come back from multi-point deficits, and it's one of those type of things where you would never see last year from a Bulls team. So it's just kind of it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, they're light years away from where they need to be, in my opinion. They really don't have, and I keep looking back to those Derrick Rose years where they just had the fight, dude, and they could score and they could slash and guys were moving
and the bench
and they had the
so
bench
good.
And right now it's just Zach gets the ball and everybody stands around.
move out of his way.
It's just gonna be like that until Billy implements the kind of system that he wants and AK gets the players in there that he wants. So. We're just going to have to see. It's going to be interesting. But regardless of what we do, we're always going to be better than the Knicks. Nick knows that. And that is what it's going to be. So no, but honestly, though, I told Nick this the other day, watching the Knicks, he knows this too. I mean, he knows that under Tibbs, they're going to be a defensive team. You have to be. You have to be, right? But, I mean, to me, they really have some good guys on that team. I mean, you can't ask for any better young guys than Barrett, and then you have that big guy, the center that they have. Yeah.
Mitchell Robinson.
Quigley too even had to fight for playing time. And with Tibbs, I mean, he has a set lineup, but Quigley forced him his way in there. Yeah. I don't really think that he'd be a starter on a championship Knicks team. I mean, he'd definitely be a guy off the bench, but. I don't think they're that far away. I really don't from watching them. And if you can play defense, you're really not that far away because no one else wants to play defense in this league, and everybody knows that. I mean, the East is going to be fun to watch. I mean, I can't wait to see who actually comes out of there.
And Sean, I think you bring up a very solid point, especially with Jim Boylan, because. Remember, we had the same hype around Jacques Vaughn. Remember when Jacques Vaughn came out?
My guy.
The same Spurs staff and went to Orlando, and everyone did the same hype. oh, he's coming off that bench from Greg Popovich, and
Yeah.
he's been down there for 4 years, and they won 2 rings, and this is the guy. And he didn't last a year and a half in Orlando.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like some guys are cut out to be assistant coaches, and some guys are cut out to be head coaches.
Matt Nagy.
Who's that?
Matt Nagy.
He's an offensive coordinator.
And you know what, Sean? Sean,
gotta
you know
call.
what? I'm glad you're on. Because last week we were talking about Eric Bieniemy and the hoopla around him not being a head coach. And I came out and said, you know, everyone is complaining about Eric Bieniemy not being a head coach,
Except for
other
him.
than Eric Bieniemy
Yes.
himself.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the reason why I said that was because we don't know how much Andy Reid is still going to coach.
Yeah.
So if I'm Eric Bieniemy, why would I leave a great situation in Kansas City to go somewhere like Houston, where I have a disgruntled quarterback who doesn't even want to be there, may not even come play the season next year, or I could just stay in Kansas City and wait till Andy Reid calls it quits, and then I can just take over.
Yeah.
If I'm Eric Bieniemy, I'd be like, hey, thanks for the tears.
Yes.
I don't need them because
Right,
I'm
exactly.
not going
Right.
anywhere.
Exactly. It's the same thing that we talk. It's the Josh McDaniels effect. I mean, it really is. I mean, everybody wanted Josh McDaniels. Now, I know he went to Denver for that little bit of time, but he instantly came back to New England because he knew what he had.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. If you have a winning team, if you know that you're going to be good for years, if you know you have a quarterback in Patrick Mahomes who's signed for the next 11 years, you're not going to really want to raise your hand and leave right away.
Right.
So I totally agree with you. Eric Bieniemy, even though he would make a great coach, and listen, I mean, I know we look at teams around the league like Houston and the Jets and teams like that, and they really aren't in a good way right now, and we instantly want to, you know, get that hot take coach. Oh, he'd be great with this
Right.
team. Eric Bieniemy isn't leaving anytime soon, guys. I'm going to tell you something right now. He loves it in Kansas City. He loves coaching Patrick Mahomes in that offense. And like Nick, like you said, I mean, he knows that one day Andy is going to step down. Now, granted, Andy keeps getting extensions, so we're going to have to see how long he's actually going to coach for, right? But as soon as Andy leaves, if Eric's there, and Clark Hunt came on the Kansas City Sports Radio the other day and said it, he'd be a strong candidate to replace Andy. So
And Sean,
I mean,
man,
you're
he's
right. I mean, why would you want to leave?
Andy Reid's been grinding for a minute, man. Like, you know,
he loves coaching.
Yeah.
He loves coaching, but he's one of those type of coaches where guys love to play for him as well. So he gets the best out of everybody that he coaches because he loves to do it.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing, but he's also a player's coach too. I mean, that's very rare if you look up and down the NFL today to find a coach that has qualities like Andy Reid, really.
Yeah. And I think Bieniemy sees the special traits in Patrick Mahomes. 'Cause you have to remember, dude, like, you're not going to be able to replicate Patrick Mahomes wherever you go, right? Like, that guy's a once in a league type of talent. And if Bieniemy can just stick around for another, you know, I honestly think, listen, dude, I'm not putting this out in the universe, but let's say, you know, Andy has his second double cheeseburger after a win tomorrow. You know, he might look at his family and go, it might be time. Like, you know, you don't know with coaches because, you know, they're just, especially with Andy Reid, because he was grinding for so long, finally got his last year, a second one. I think at the very least he'd probably want to come back and try and do the three-peat thing. But, you know, Bieniemy, like, to me, if he looks at the open positions around the league, he's probably not seeing the type of intrigue that is like, I'm leaving Kansas City for this.
Yeah, I totally agree, and you have to look at it from Andy's point of view as well. I mean, you're not going to want to leave this team or this offense just to anybody. You know what I mean? And the organization's not going to want to do that either.
True.
So, yeah, if you have a coach in Eric Bieniemy that's been there and he knows the offense and knows the system, it'd be easier for Andy to sit there and say we do win tomorrow. You know, and Andy sits back, you know, next week and he's like, well, maybe this is it. Maybe I should just step away because I've been doing this for so long.
Yeah.
And coaching is a grind and stuff like that.
And
so
he's lost. Remember,
I
he's
think,
lost a son. Remember, like he's had a tough sort of family go at it too. I think he's had
well, I mean, his family's in the news again, so we'll kind of see how that plays a factor in tomorrow's game, if any, tomorrow with his other son getting in that car accident yesterday.
No.
But
that's right.
Yeah, I mean, and prayers go out to the family.
Yeah.
I know that 2 little kids were involved and they're injured, and one actually is in critical conditions this afternoon. So we're going to kind of see there is an investigation going on currently right now into the accident. But, I mean, Andy's been through a lot, honestly. I mean, he has been through some family stuff, but he's never let that affect the way that he has coached his football teams. But it is a grind. It's a mental grind, obviously, and it's a physical grind. So, yeah, if Eric Bieniemy's there, I'm sure that, if they do win tomorrow, Andy's going to have a little bit to think about. Now, I know from just listening and hearing Andy and what he said and just listening to what's going on with the organization, I don't really think that he's going to be stepping away anytime soon just because he loves coaching that much.
Right.
But, I mean, having a coach in Eric Bieniemy there, he will have to, maybe get a little bit more thought than he has in the past.
Yep. All right, Nick, you got anything else for Shine? We're hitting our 3-hour stride here, so.
Yeah, you know what? As a matter of fact, I do have one more question. Sean, if I know it's been a while, but if I'm not mistaken, you are the Cardinals fan.
Oh, yeah.
And, big trade for Arenado earlier in the week, man. I mean, and if I'm not mistaken, you guys really didn't give up a lot to bring him in. And Colorado wanted to get rid of Arenado so bad. They said, look, I got $50 million just laying around for you just to help pay it. Like, we don't want him out here anymore. So how, I mean, Mack and I have really talked about it. The Cubs are kind of rebuilding. The Pirates is absolutely a garbage. And then, so now it's you guys along with
Milwaukee's always constantly trying to trade players,
Yeah, exactly. So, man, I mean, what are your thoughts on your baseball before you leave? Give us thoughts on St. Louis and your thoughts from a Cardinal standpoint on the deal.
Well, hold on. I just noticed that the lighting is getting bad in here. I want everyone to keep seeing my Kansas City Chiefs head. Hold on real quick.
Oh, no. Here we go. All right. There you go.
Right.
Now we see the red. Now we see the red.
Cobra Kai shirt on, too. Nick will love that as well. My Cobra Kai shirt. All right. All red today, baby. No, yeah, you're right. Listen. The talks of Arenado to the Cardinals have been going on for a while.
Yeah.
And as a Cardinals fan, it was – listen, it's like that carrot that's dangled in front of that horse, and you want it so bad, but then it gets yanked out from you. This has been going on for a good year now, year and a half. But for it to actually happen, it was one of those type of situations, guys, where you have a team in Colorado, mainly an owner and a GM, who really didn't really know what direction they were going.
Yep.
You have a player in Arenado, you have a player in Trevor Story, and then it's just like, okay, Nolan is wanting more pieces around him. He's like, hey, we have legitimately a chance here to make it deep into the playoffs in the National League if you give us some pieces. And they're like, and they just basically just didn't, listen to what Nolan was saying, and they went pretty much the other way. I mean, they really weren't aggressive at the trade deadline. And, it's one of those deals where Nolan's not getting any younger.
Right.
I mean, he wants to win. I mean, not making it to the playoffs and just making it to the wild card every year really isn't, conducive for a guy with that much talent.
Right.
So it was the perfect storm. It's one of those perfect storms where you had a guy that wanted out privately. You had an owner and a GM who, let's face it, I mean, they wanted to get out from that money.
Mm-hmm,
and
exactly.
That was the only way to do it. And the Cardinals took advantage of it, and they were persistent. Listen, I'm going to tell you guys right now, Bill DeWitt Jr., I've never seen him be more persistent in pursuing a guy than they did with Nolan Arenado.
Yeah.
I mean, we went out and got Holiday. We went out. I mean, we went out and got Paul Goldschmidt.
Yeah.
But they were not as aggressive and persistent as they were with Nolan Arenado. And listen, I'm still in shock. I mean, I'm telling you, that's a huge. I mean, you have to understand. I don't really think a guy of that magnitude is ever going to come around in trade talks. I mean, you really have to understand he is a top 5 MVP caliber player. He is going to the Hall of Fame for his position. I mean, but all the intangibles that he brings and his age, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Mike Trout, I don't want to put them in the same conversation, but it's almost like we're getting a Mike Trout because he's that good at what he does. So,
especially at that position, Sean, the having the best defensive third baseman, arguably the best defensive third baseman in baseball, that is huge for a team.
Yeah, and the thing that I like about it, and Nick will attest to this, and Mack, I mean, you can attest to this as well. When you get a guy like that in your lineup, it makes everybody else better, and it takes the pressure off of everybody, and they're able to perform and go out and play without all of that pressure and stress. So I'm going to be very curious to see for a guy like Dylan Carlson coming into his quote-unquote rookie year. You're going to have players like Tommy Edman, and most importantly, I think the stress is going to come off Paul DeYoung. Harrison Bader, I think, is going to have a decent year. I mean, just think about it. You have a guy like Tyler O'Neill who won a Gold Glove, and Harrison Bader hitting 7th and 8th in your lineup. I mean, that's kind of,
and their top prospects. It seems like the Cardinals.
In my opinion,
it seems like the Cardinals always have top prospects. Like it's just like every year they've got a top 5 offensive prospect.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, Colorado is getting a great pitcher in Austin Gomber. He's a lefty with a curveball that'll buckle your knees at any point. So I mean, Colorado's getting a good, and they're also getting. The only prospect that I wish they wouldn't have gave up, I'm sorry, I'm going long here, but
no, you're good.
Eleris Montero is going to be a stud. I'm telling you right now, book it on this podcast. Montero for the Rockies is going to be a stud. I mean, he was a stud in our system. I watched him in Peoria. I went there and watched him myself. That
what
kid,
position is that,
has
Sean?
something to prove. So it's not like they're getting nothing, but they just weren't getting the top 5 prospects that everyone thought that Colorado was going to have to give up.
What position is Montero again? What position is Montero again? Sorry.
Montero's a third baseman.
Third baseman, okay.
Now he was the only reason why he was so low in our minor league system was Norland Gorman is he's a stud. And that's why I initially thought was going to be in this trade package was going to be centered around Nolan. And that's why I was so shocked that we didn't have to give him up, because Nolan is he's a top 5 prospect in our system.
Wow.
I think Montero was ranked I think he was 12th, maybe 13th in our system if I can recall correctly, but by no means are they getting a scrub. Montero is going to be a stud. And he's not going to be Nolan Arenado. I mean, come on, no one's going to be Nolan Arenado. But I mean, they're not getting scraps. They're going to be getting a good 3rd or 4th starter in the rotation in Austin Gomber, and Montero is definitely a young stud that they're going to be happy about.
Sweet. All right. I don't know, Nick. You got anything else, my man?
Nah, man, that's it, brother. Hey, thanks for
guys.
coming on, man. Yeah, we'll have to get you back on again, bro.
Yeah,
I loved it, man. Thank you so much for having me on, guys. I love talking sports, and like I said, I mean, I love watching you guys as when I can, and keep doing your thing, man. You guys are doing great.
Appreciate you, man. We're going to definitely have you on soon.
Thank you.
Go Chiefs!
All right, everyone. Well, on that note, everyone enjoy the game tomorrow. Obviously, continue to support. Obviously, you can let Nick and Sean both know on Facebook how you feel. But again, I would be remiss if I didn't say, again, continue to support the show if you can. iTunes, Spotify, if you're an audio person, if you like the video, we're on Facebook streaming live, and we also have YouTube channel. Again, search Mack and Black in the bar, but the actual channel will be PodRiver. So just continue to support us. We really appreciate everyone, and special thanks out to Christian and Sean for blessing the show, because we always love talking stuff with people who know what they're talking about. So it's refreshing. We appreciate you guys. Nick, I'll let you take us out here, because your team is playing tomorrow. So go ahead and send us off into the stratosphere.
Oh boy.
Well, all you need to know is this is what's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of salty tears on my Facebook, because everyone that's on my Facebook is all rooting for the Chiefs, because they either hate Tom Brady or it's some salty ass Packers fan that is still upset that we beat his 9 ass last week, and the Chiefs will be no different. Patrick Mahomes will be utilized by the best front seven in football. What'd he say?
How about those
Chiefs? All right.
I got both my kids trained.
Give me
Nice.
give me one. Tampa. No, he didn't want to give me the Bay.
You're gonna have to have your own kids, Nick, to do that one, man. Go start making them.
I got it. And the funny thing is, dude, my niece hates everything that I like, just so she can be difficult. So she learned from the best. So I'm not gonna sit here and lie, dude. I'm with you, Sean. Tomorrow's gonna be an exciting game, but Tampa Bay is gonna come out on top. It will not shock me. And the champagne will be a-flowing when we are raising the Lombardi Trophy and bring it back to Tampa for the first time in 18 years. Believe that.
I hope hey, listen, for your sake, Nick, I hope you're right, man. You deserve it. Honestly, you really deserve it. And it's going to be a great game. We're going to have to see.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But, yeah, hey, when we come back next week, we'll talk. Oh, what are we going to talk? Oh, we can talk hockey.
Finally talk hockey. It's been a while.
It's been a while, and the Rangers right now are about to go through addition by subtraction with this whole Tony D'Angelo nonsense that's been going on. So can't wait to figure that out. We'll get into more baseball as time goes on, because the Yankees are now back in the news for Luis Castillo. Excuse me, I'm an idiot. Jose Castillo, the kid from Cincinnati.
Yeah.
The Yankees look like they're kicking the tires on that again. So we'll see what happens with that. We'll even break down the Trevor Bauer deal. He's in L.A. and spurned the Mets. And the best thing out of all this is just to troll Mets fans. Because Mets fans were like, hey, if we get Trevor Bauer, we're going to have the best rotation in football. And I even heard somebody say that if they got Trevor Bauer, Noah Syndergaard would no longer be needed in the Mets rotation. You can bring him right across the bay to New York. I'm sure Trevor Bauer, what's his name? Noah Syndergaard would have a fine spot in the Yankee rotation. So if Met fans really think that Trevor Bauer is a step above Noah Syndergaard, I think there's a section of New York that smokes crack. That's just my personal opinion. But we'll break that down next week. Other than that, and then we'll get into more basketball. We'll recap the Super Bowl. The Royal Rumble was this past Sunday. Edge won it. Like, I don't even know how I feel about it.
I don't know. I watched it too. I don't know how I felt about it either. It was kind of. I was waiting for that superstar to come out. Edge came out last year. I'm like, okay, Christian and him hugged it out in the middle of the ring. It was kind of. I don't know. It was weird.
It was blah to me, dude. Like, look, I love wrestling as much as the next man. As a matter of fact, I will say that I love wrestling more than maybe 85% of America. So when Edge came out last year, it was like I was excited, but I wasn't really marking out as hard as everybody else. Like, oh my God, it's Edge and this and that, because we weren't getting the prime Edge.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We're getting the older Edge. And so he wins the Royal Rumble, but then he just did something that we saw last year, which was Charlotte Flair wins the Rumble. She goes after the NXT Women's Championship. Edge wins the Rumble. He's now challenging Finn Balor for the NXT Championship.
Ooh,
so
yeah.
now that leaves wide open. You know, I wish he would have went after the SmackDown Championship, because I'm tired of seeing Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens wrestle now for about the 50th time in the last 2 months.
Listen, now you have to say, though, Kevin Owens going off that fork truck was pretty cool. I did not know that he was going to do he did a flip off of a fork truck. I mean, that was pretty amazing.
That's pretty crazy.
And let me say this too, dude. I'm not saying that match wasn't great. I'm saying that match should have been saved.
Yes,
for WrestleMania.
I agree.
You just gave us a WrestleMania match in a tie over. No, okay, yeah. Don't get me wrong. The Royal Rumble is one of the main four, but that's a WrestleMania-esque match.
I totally agree.
But something a little smaller than that.
I totally agree with you, but I think the reason why they did that was because they started the show off with Goldberg and Drew McIntyre, and everybody knew how that match was going to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you had to come back with the next men's match like that to keep people entertained for the actual Royal Rumble. So I kind of understand why they did that, but I agree with you. That should have been a WrestleMania match for sure.
Exactly.
Now, Cena's coming back. Cena's rumored to come back, so we'll see if he shows up in the next Raws or not.
And Shaw, I'm glad you brought that up because I thought Cena was going to be, not only did I think he was going to come back for the Rumble, I thought he was going to win it.
Yes,
I thought it was going to be Cena coming back, Cena winning it, Cena ties Ric Flair's record. It had that written all over it, but then you threw us this curveball by bringing us Edge to prove that he can stay in the Royal Rumble for an hour, win it, but then goes to NXT. And I like NXT, but it's just, I feel like that show should not be having older superstars come in and cross over for that. No, I didn't like
and you have to also too think the way that it's going right now. You don't want AEW to start leaking into your ratings because it's going to be like they did back in the day with WWF and WCW. Because once WWE starts to get a little stale. That's why I was hoping that Cena was going to come back for the Rumble. AEW is still killing it right now with Sting and everybody else. So you really, if you're Vince McMahon, you really have to come with it WrestleMania time. And I think he will, but I mean, you got to keep that in mind.
Yep.
Hey, Tyler Rex, does that ring a bell for you guys? Tyler Rex
does ring a bell. Yes.
Yeah.
He was in the news lately, hasn't he?
He's been out of the news. I believe he's out as trans now. Is according to.
I actually, it's funny.
Right.
My wife this morning she likes to read the news and the headlines and the gossip. She's like, yeah, this wrestler, this former wrestler came out as transgender, and I'm thinking to myself, I go, okay, who could it be?
You're
and
thinking
then she
big.
named that name, and I was like, I have no idea who that is.
Oh, okay, yeah. Steve just informed me of that. So well, okay. Best of luck to you, Tyler.
All right, guys. Well, it's been a fun.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Sean, man. We'll get you back ASAP, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, brother.
All right.
All right, for sure. But man, it's been a fun 3 hours and 15 minutes.
Time flies by when you're having fun, man. You just, you're talking with your buddies. You don't even
I'm looking
notice.
at the time. I'm like, damn, it's 6. It's almost 6. But I feel like I've only been talking for 2 hours.
I know. We get it done, man. We're good at this.
That's most dead. But once we come back next week, we'll touch everything. Like I said, we'll get into some hockey. That season's in. We'll get into some baseball. Pretty soon we'll be getting into the spring training segment. So fun show today as always. Thanks to everyone that shared the show. Thanks to everyone that listened to the show. Thank you to Steve, who's in the back.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
That helps produce the show. He does a great
Appreciate
job
you,
for
man.
us. Thank you, everything, Steve. And when we come back next week, we'll be talking whoever's the Super Bowl champs, Tampa. That'll be next week. So for Mack, thank you, Christian, for coming on. Thank you, Sean, for coming on. Thanks to everyone that watch and listen. Don't forget, mackandblack.com. Check us out on YouTube. Search us on our PodRiver. We're right there. And Facebook, make sure you like and share and all that good jazz. But we'll see you guys next week. For Mack, I'm Black. Peace.
Peace.